You know, it seems like every time we come to a road course, there's always two drivers that just keep popping up. Sitting here in Watkins Glen, watching those racing men, bending fenders and smoking tires. Looks like there'll be some overtime. Rusty Wallace and Ricky Rudd love to race hub to hub, with just one thing to prove: who's king of the road?
I'll tell you, when you got somebody like Rusty Wallace on your rear bumper, you better use every inch of this road.
Ricky, I've been on the road, in the grass and in the dirt trying to get around you, but this time I'm going to be looking at you in my rear view mirror.
Who's king of the road? This could be interesting.
ESPN, celebrating its 10th season as the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Today, from the road course at Watkins, Glen, New York, the Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race. We have a partly cloudy day here in the Finger Lakes region of New York. The temperature in the upper 70s. Humidity is 50%, and there's a 30% chance of rain this afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to Watkins Glen, New York, the second road course race of the 1989 season for the Winston Cup drivers. The first, of course, at Sears Point International in California, won by Ricky Rudd. Now, the last 8 Winston Cup races on road courses have been won by 3 drivers. We call them the trifecta trio. Tim Richmond won 3 in a row. Then Rusty Wallace won 3 in a row. Ricky Rudd has won 2 in a row and goes for number 3 here this afternoon. Now, after today, we move to Michigan International Speedway, a 2-mile high-banked racetrack. But then after that, we enter a totally different phase of the season. Races on tracks 1.5 miles or shorter, and the point standings as we know them now could definitely change. For more on that, let's go to Ned Jarrett.
Bob, the race here today on a road course could be very crucial as far as those Winston Cup point standings are concerned. There are so many variables that can put you out of a race. Let's take a look at the top 5 in the Winston Cup point standings. Dale Earnhardt, the road courses have not been a long suit for him in the past, even though he has a good qualifying run here today, but he would just like to lead a few laps, get some bonus points, maybe a top 5 finish, and get on out of here to those oval tracks. Darrell Waltrip has certainly had good success on road courses in the past, but not in recent years, but he was leading here a year ago when he had transmission problems, so he thinks he has a good shot today. Mark Martin hasn't won anywhere yet. His car's not running as well as he would like here today. He, like Earnhardt, would like to have a top finish, get on out of here to the oval courses. Bill Elliott, who has come from 33rd in the Winston Cup point standings to 4th since the beginning of the season. He won his very first race on a road course at Riverside, California back in the early 80s. He thinks he has a good shot to move up in the point standings today. And Rusty Wallace certainly has had a lot of success recently on the road courses, and he would like to make up some of the ground that he lost at Talladega a couple of weeks ago when he went out of that race early, dropped him down to 5th in the point standings. Now, to get around this road course, one of the crucial points is here in turn 1 behind me. If they don't get in here good and able to get off of this turn, they're not going to go through the S's very well, and down the long straightaway where so much speed is made up on this racetrack. It's a very crucial turn. There's another crucial turn here, too, that might have an outcome on the winner of this race, and Benny Parsons is standing there.
Ned, I'm standing at the exit of turn 7, a crucial corner because he can get here and get to the start-finish line, which is right down the road before another driver. You get 5 bonus Winston Cup points, and they mean everything. These guys are desperately trying to get every point that they possibly can. You talked about the outcome of the race. Watch this. Last year, on the last lap, Rusty Wallace, desperately trying to get by Ricky Rudd to win the race, could not do it. He tried everything. The grass, the dirt. There wasn't enough pavement. This year, maybe there will be enough pavement for Rusty Wallace to get by. At the entrance to pit road, it can be exciting, and Jack Arute is there.
Benny, there are indeed some changes on pit entrance here at Watkins Glen. First and foremost, due to the fact that you go around this racetrack at about 1 minute and 15 seconds or so, a lot of teams are considering the possibility of pitting under green flag conditions. Instead of waiting for the caution and stacking themselves up on pit road, they feel they can come in under green, change 4 tires, take on fuel, and be able to get back out without having to worry about wrecking their race car in close quarters. Now, if they do come onto pit road, it is inviting, but there's only approximately 25 feet per pit crew for which they can do their work. So it makes for close quarters, especially if they come in under the caution. Gives crews a lot to think about. driver that has a lot to think about is back way up at the end of pit road with my colleague, Jerry Punch, right now. Jerry?
Well, thank you, Jack and Rude. One driver who's got a lot to be concerned about today is a big field of cars behind him. Standing with me, the pole sitter, Morgan Shepherd. And Morgan, a lot of people were surprised, probably even you were surprised, at the fact that you're sitting on the pole here for the Budweiser at the Glen.
Well, Jerry, the same thing happened to us last year at Pocono. We wasn't running quite as quick as some of the other guys, but our car was real tight, and so we were setting up for race conditions. And the same thing happened here, believe it or not. Our car was real tight, and when we qualified, we got in a real good lap.
Not only will you have a chance to start the Busch Clash in 1990, but you will also get a chance at that Unical Challenge money, over $121,000 up for grabs today, if you can stay out front. That's the big question. Can you stay out front?
I feel like we can. The Valvoline Pontiac is handling real well. We may not run out front all day long, but at the end, I feel like the handling of the car is going to be real good, and we got a good shot at it.
Looks like Bodon's going to make the move on the first lap. But watch for Morgan Shepherd throughout the day. He's very smooth and very consistent. Morgan, we'll let you go get in the car. We know you're hurrying you down to get in the car and get ready to start the race. Good luck to you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Morgan Shepherd will start from the pole today. Let's go back upstairs to Bob Jenkins. Bob?
Thanks, Jerry. And Morgan is only the 6th driver to win a pole position during the 1989 Winston Cup season. It's his first pole position since Pocono last year on the 2.5-mile Super Speedway. Our Speed World coverage of the Budweiser at the Glen is being brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. By Mr. Goodwrench. Mr. Goodwrench knows it's not just a car, it's your freedom. By Pontiac and your local Pontiac dealer, we build excitement. And by the First Name in Filters, Purolator, exceptional protection for exceptional vehicles like yours. Watkins. NASCAR racing today from Watkins Glen, New York. The Budweiser at the Glen. 90 laps on this 2.428-mile road course. Now, normally in the booth at this time is Ned Jarrett, but not today. He's on pit road because he's the Grand Marshal of this event. Let's go to him. Ned.
Drivers in the Bud at the Glen, good luck. Gentlemen, start your engines.
Will be making his way up to the booth now to join us for the telecast of this race as we see the drivers getting set in their cars for a couple of warm-up laps before getting the green flag for 90 laps, 219 miles of racing here this afternoon. There's Jim Sauter. We have a camera inside the Group 44 car as he prepares to go onto the racetrack. Dale Earnhardt sits ready in his GM Goodwrench Chevrolet, set to go. Hut Strickland in car number 57, the Heinz-sponsored car, as he is about to move off of pit road. Beside him, the number 52 car driven by Jimmy Means. There are a total of 40 cars and drivers lined up, ready to take the green flag for racing. Now, a course description. Here's Benny.
Thank you very much, Bob Jenkins. Ned Jarrett, I know you're trackside. Grab a monitor and let's go through this road course.
Well, of course, we're headed into turn 1 now, one of the most critical turns on the circuit. Alan Kowicki, we're following him around the track. He shifts down into second gear going into this turn.
Accelerates fast, hard off turn 1. Shift to third gear. Turn 2, heavy right-hander, flat out, up the hill. A left-hander, turn 3, always takes that flat out. Back to the right, turn 4, shifts into fourth gear, down the long back straightaway.
And they reach up to 170 miles an hour on this straightaway. And at the end of it, Benny, there's a very hard, sharp right-hand turn.
And I'm telling you, these guys have to catch third gear, got to check almost 100 miles an hour to make this corner. Down to about 80, 90 miles an hour, right to the bottom of the racetrack, Kowicki goes. We can see there the red line. The road course would go straight ahead, but the NASCAR course comes back to the right, down the back straightaway. Kowicki leaves the car in third gear just before turn 6.
And he's just come a half a mile down that straightaway. He'll shift back into second, going into turn 6.
Accelerating heavily off turn 6. Quick down the short straightaway. Now right back to the right, turn 7. And right in front of him is the start-finish line and hopefully the checkered flag.
Total is 7 turns. There are 5 right-handers and 2 left-handers. And there you see the field moving up through the S's, turns 2, 3, and 4. We'll be back to take a look at the starting lineup for today's race in just a moment. Glen, New York, where the field is on the first of 2 pace laps before getting the green flag in the beginning of the Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race. 40 cars and drivers are set to go for 90 laps of competition, and here now is a starting lineup for today's race. On the pole with a speed of 120.456 miles an hour, not quite a record, is Morgan Shepherd outside of the first row. Last year's pole sitter, Jeff Bodine, in the number 5 Levi Garrett Chevrolet. He's from Chemung, New York, not too far from here. Terry Labonte starts in 3rd position. He's from Corpus Christi, Texas, the Budweiser Banquet Foods Ford, car number 11. He's the IROC champion this year. And Dale Earnhardt then in the GM Goodwrench Chevrolet, the points leader in Winston Cup competition. The car number is 3. Ken Schrader begins this race from 5th position in the number 25 Folgers Coffee Chevrolet. He was 4th at Talladega 2 weeks ago. And then Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, in the number 9 Coors Melling Ford, led most laps here last year. Darrell Waltrip begins from 7th position in the number 17 Tide Chevrolet. He has 5 wins on Winston Cup road courses. Starting next to him will be Ricky Rudd from Chesapeake, Virginia, in the number 26 Quaker State Buick. He's the defending champion of this race. Starting from 9th position will be Bobby Hilton in car number 8, and then Alan Kowicki in car 7 as the cars pass by us here on the main straightaway. Row number 6 is Mark Martin and Derry Cope. Going to row number 7, it's Rusty Wallace and Dale Jarrett. The 8th row, Brett Bodine and Tom Kendall driving for Rick Henry. In row number 9, it's Dick Johnson, the Australian, and Sterling Marlin in number 94. Bill Parsons and Michael Waltrip make up row number 10. And we'll let you look at the rest of the starting lineup as we congratulate you, Ned, on being the Grand Marshal of this race. Have you ever done the Gentleman Start Your Engines before?
I did it several years ago at Rockingham, North Carolina, and it's quite a treat. You know, you see these guys do that every Sunday, usually an official of a sponsoring company, but I was very flattered that I was chosen this time. Of course, this was my favorite of the road courses when I drove race cars. We raced at Ridge Hampton on Long Island, New York, as well as Riverside back then, and here at the Glen in 64 and 65. And this was my favorite track, so it was a real treat for me to be the Grand Marshal.
Well, a good job. And by the way, we'll point out that Ned finished 2nd here to Marvin Pinch in Winston Cup competition back in 1965. Now, Benny, you finished 5th here in 1987.
And there's no fun in the world for a stock car driver like a road course. It is absolutely the best fun that you can have in a race car. We're looking out of the windshield of Jeff Bodine's car.
Let's go quickly to Cherry Punch on pit road just before the green flag.
Gentlemen, a lot of Jeff Bodine fans in the grandstands. He came around in the Levi Garrett Chevrolet. People standing, waving those bright yellow hats. He is from this area. He is from Chemung, New York, and he has not had the best of luck here. He dominated the very first Budweiser at the Glen, only to have engine failure with 27 laps to go. He led 10 laps in 87, again 10 laps in 88, but his best finish, folks, a 15th place. So he would like to make that improvement today and possibly go to victory lane. Bob?
We have 3 in-car cameras for you working this afternoon here at Watkins Glen, and also a bumper cam on the front part of Alan Kowicki's car, so we should be giving you some really exciting shots. Now, there we are inside the Group 44 car that will be driven by Jim Sauter in a starting position of 27th for Jim.
He'll certainly give us some good pictures from back in the field. A very accomplished race driver.
And there is the bumper cam on Alan Kowicki's car, and in the previous races that we have had a camera in this location, it's just given us some outstanding shots and should be that way here this afternoon. And inside now of Alan Kowicki's number 7 car, starting in 10th position as we now get set for a start of this race. The cars move through corner number 6, coming down now to the 7th and final corner on this racetrack that leads to the front straightaway and what will be the start of 90 laps of competition here this afternoon. And here comes the field off the 7th corner. The pace car ducks to the pit area, and the green flag is out, and we are racing. The Budweiser at the Glen underway. We're glad you can be with us on this Sunday afternoon.
Well, everybody will try to get into that first turn first, Bob, but they can't all. Look there, they're 3 wide going in there.
Nice Racing going on. Cars off the course already. Dale Earnhardt got the left side of his car off the course momentarily in turn number 1. Now they move up through the S's, turns 2, 3, and 4, as Morgan Shepherd is leading Jeff Bodine and Terry Labonte.
Well, I tell you what, the field seems to be getting in line, in single file line, but boy, it was Terry back there, 2, 3 abreast, back in the S's. Richard Petty still side by side. Here's the bumper cam from Alan Kowicki looking right, going by, trying to get by Bobby Hillin, going in turn 5.
He uses the inside line and is able to pass Bobby Hillin, and now the car just ahead is that of Ricky Rudd. Oh, here comes Hillin back on the outside, as Alan could not successfully make the pass completely.
Normally on the inside of that turn would be the place to be, but Bobby hung tight out there on the outside, got good momentum off the turn, and kept the position.
And here comes the field now.
Rusty Wallace making a move. He's on the inside of someone in turn 6.
Down the half-mile straightaway, leading to turn number 6. And onto the main straightaway once again. Morgan Shepherd, Jeff Bodine, Terry Labonte, Ken Schrader. Then comes Dale Earnhardt as the first 5 are running in that order, and the field completes lap number 1 of 90. Dick Johnson in car number 38 using the inside line to try to take up a position, and the number 40 car driven by Darren Brassfield is in for a stop and go. He was caught by the NASCAR officials for jumping the start.
NASCAR rules say that every race car has to go by the start-finish line on the beginning of the race before they can pass someone. Evidently, Brassfield did not follow those instructions. NASCAR brought him in.
That's the Dale Earnhardt Chevrolet, driven by Darren Brassfield from Los Gatos, California, as we move back out onto the racetrack and see how things are going. We're inside Jeff Bodine's car, looking through the back glass at Terry Labonte, who is running in 3rd position. Morgan Shepherd is continuing to set the pace of this race.
Morgan got off to a good start. Of course, you can see the distance between Jeff Bodine and Terry Labonte, but Morgan Shepherd jumped off to an early start. His car is just handling super here all week.
Here's the completion of lap number 2, and Shepherd still has the advantage as they come down once again. Now, Earnhardt has pulled out of line and goes to the inside, trying to take a look and see if he can get by Ken Schrader going into corner number 1. He cannot, and so Schrader hangs in there in 4th position. It is Dale Earnhardt in 5th, and then comes Bill Elliott in 6th position, followed by Darrell Waltrip and Ricky Rudd.
Well, I tell you what, there's some terrific road racers in that group. They say Earnhardt's not a good road racer, but he's in front of some awfully good ones. Bill Elliott, Darrell Waltrip, and Ricky Rudd, 3 of the very best road racers in Winston Cup racing.
Into corner number 6 once again they go in single file formation. Let's go to Jerry Punch with a comment on Dale Earnhardt.
Well, you comment on Earnhardt's road racing ability. This is the same car they've been using for 3 years on the road course. They just changed the body and made it aluminum from a Monte Carlo. It's the same car they ran here in '86 and finished 3rd with, the same car they had at Sears Point, California, and finished 4th with. In fact, Dale Earnhardt was so loose in the garage area yesterday, he was cracking jokes with Richard Childress and the crew, just having a big time. Uncharacteristic of Dale Earnhardt, who's normally very, very serious at the racetrack. So it might spell something today. He may have something for these guys as they come out of turn 6 back on the straightaway. Bob?
And Darrell Waltrip got the left side of his car well off the racetrack. Ricky Rudd running just ahead of Darrell Waltrip, but that's the kind of action we have seen in turn number 7 throughout the time that we've been here. And the number 10 car has gone off the course. That's Derek Cope's Purolator Pontiac.
Derek had a very good qualifying run here. In fact, it was the best that he's had since he joined the Purolator Whitcomb team. But it looks like he's in trouble now.
He is coming into the pit area. You can see those red pylons standing there, creating sort of a chicane to slow the cars down as they come into the pit area. And the number 10 car of Derek Cope is moving slowly in. As a matter of fact, he is going behind the wall.
I believe he has an engine problem in that car, Bob. Of course, there's damage to the right side of the car as it goes in, but that came, I guess, as a result of getting off the course.
Here comes Morgan Shepherd, still leading the way. Jeff Bodine in the number 5. Levi Garrett Chevrolet is running 2nd. The Budweiser Ford from Terry Labonte is 3rd, and then comes Ken Schrader. They continue to run in pretty much the same order.
Jeff Bodine just a few laps ago was about 10 car lengths back. Now only 2 or 3 car lengths back. Coming off turn 7 for the start-finish line, Jeff Bodine making a serious run.
Bodine now within just about 3 car lengths of Morgan Shepherd as they head for turn number 1 again. Bright sunshine glistening off the cars as they move into the first turn. There is Earnhardt and Bill Elliott with Rudd and Waltrip running behind them. Ken Schrader is in 4th position in the number 25 car. Good qualifying effort from Ken as he clocked in with the 5th fastest of the weekend, 119.972 miles an hour. This is about a half-mile straightaway between turns 5 and 6, the second fastest portion of the racetrack. Now into turn 6 and 7 come the leaders, led by Morgan Shepherd from Conover, North Carolina. We'll be back with more after this. Watkins Glen, where there's a battle for second position. Jeff Bodine is second. Now the battle for third is heating up as the number 25 car of Ken Schrader battles alongside the 11 car of Labonte. And as a matter of fact, Schrader takes over second as Jeff Bodine comes in for a pit stop. So the guy who has run second since the drop of the green flag is in. Jack Arute reports.
And Bob Waddell Wilson waits with the signboard. As we told you at the start, tight quarters here. They're going to change all 4 tires because Bodine has radioed in that he has a flat. Now this will be costly. He was in the lead hunt. He'll have to start at the back. They've exchanged the right sides. One crew member is taking off the... Actually, they've exchanged the left sides. One crew member is taking the right sides off now. The jackman has gone around. He's raising it up. They've just about completed their task. Left sides are on, right sides, the work has just about been completed. They drop the jack and he is off and away in 22.2 seconds. Let's check in with Jerry Punch. Jerry?
Another driver isn't having a great day is Alan Kowicki. I'm with his crew chief, Paul Andrews. And Paul, Alan just took the car back to the garage area. What's wrong?
Well, looks like we lost another motor. It's just a real shame. The Xerox AC4 Thunderbird is really running good yesterday in practice. We were looking forward to a real good run today. We thought we had all our trouble behind us, and apparently not. So we got to go in the garage. It looks like we did lose the motor, though, so go in the garage and load this thing up and get out of here, I guess. That's about it.
A dismal second half of the year thus far for Alan Kowicki. Let's go back up pit road to Jack Arute. Jack?
Attrition is beginning to take its toll here. Bob Whitcomb, who is the owner of the Purelator car that Derek Cope brought on to the garage area. What put you out, Bob?
Yeah, we lost the bearing and lost the engine. We're done for the day.
It's as if you guys can't get any luck at all throughout your career here in Winston Cup racing.
No, we've been qualifying good, top 20 the last 6 weeks. Things are really coming together for us. We're just not getting the luck on Sunday afternoons. And just look forward to next week at Michigan. We run good at Michigan and hoping for a good week next week.
Well, as we watch the cars circuit this road course, one driver that was supposed to bring his car in at the end of the first lap is still out there. That's Eddie Bierswale, subbing for Blake Speed and for Joe Ruttman. Ruttman, who subbed for Speed, he told me before the start of the race, as we watch A.J. Foyt come onto pit road, the fact that he was going to make 1 lap and park it because it's their Bristol car, but he's made 3 laps already.
And we have a new leader. It's Ken Schrader, who has taken over the top spot from Morgan Shepherd. So Schrader has really put on a charge here in the last few laps and has been able to move around Shepherd. And now we have Terry Labonte trying to take over second position from Shepherd. Oh, they touch going into the corner as Labonte got some of his car beside of... Oh, and we have a spin. The number 41 machine of Ted Thomas from Birmingham, Alabama has spun. All kinds of action here in the pit area, on the course, and all over.
Hurry up, son. That is not the place to be down in turn 1 because here comes the leaders. Oh, don't go across the racetrack. He made me nervous trying to pull across the racetrack.
Ted Thomas, in his Winston Cup debut in the Budweiser at the Glen, was born in Daytona and resides now in Birmingham, Alabama. And those running up front are catching up with him. And there is A.J. Foyt, who is apparently headed out of the race. They're pushing his Copenhagen Oldsmobile behind the wall. He didn't turn a lap on Watkins Glen until just this weekend when he came here to practice for the IROC race yesterday. And now he pulls his Winston Cup car behind the wall.
Hard to believe as many years as he's been racing in all forms of motorsport that he has never run at this racetrack, but he has not. Another driver that made an unscheduled pit stop for a 4-tire change a moment ago was Ernie Irvin in the Kroger Pontiac. Ernie now finds himself 1 lap down.
And this green car running 4th right now, Ricky Rudd, the Quaker State Buick, started about 8th place. He is making a run for the front. And let's face it, last year he had one of the best cars here, won the race. He's awfully tough today, Bob Jenkins.
He is so tough on any kind of a racetrack, but especially on a road course. He finds himself in 4th position at the moment as he has Morgan Shepherd right ahead of him. Now here comes Rudd to the inside trying to take over 3rd, and he's going to do it. Morgan Shepherd has fallen from 1st back to 4th here in the last few laps, but Morgan battles back to the inside. Rudd, however, is going to maintain that 3rd position. He is headed toward the front. Ricky Rudd in the Quaker State Buick Kenny Bernstein on machine number 26.
And behind the black car, there we see Bill Elliott in the red car. Now comes the black car, the white car, Rusty Wallace. So we've got more of 1988 staring us right in the face. Bill Elliott trying to get by Morgan Shepherd. He pulls down the inside. Rusty Wallace on the inside of Earnhardt takes that spot away.
So we're seeing Wallace and Rudd both marching toward the front.
I mentioned earlier that Morgan Shepherd's car had been handling so well here from the time they took it off the truck, but right now it seems the handle has gone away on the Valvoline Pontiac.
He has fallen back several positions and continues to lose, as a matter of fact, as Bill Elliott has been able to pass Morgan Shepherd in that number 75 car. So there is Schrader, followed by Labonte, then Rudd, then comes Bill Elliott and Morgan Shepherd. That's the way they're running at the end of 10 laps.
Bob Jenkins, some of our people around the race course has been monitoring the radios, and Morgan Shepherd has radio in that he is getting out-brake going in turn 5, trying to slow the car down to 90 from 180. And, you know, in the speed traps this week, they've been clocking the cars. Morgan Shepherd always has been slow going in that corner, and is starting to show right now that he's just not getting in turn 5 as hard as some of the rest of these cars.
His trap speeds were not nearly as fast as some of the others, indicating the speed down the straightaway wasn't all that good, but he did qualify fast enough to take the pole position for this event, but he's falling back, and now we're seeing Rudd trying to make a bid for 2nd position, and Rudd has it. So Ricky is indeed on the move from his 8th starting position. He is now in 2nd spot, looking for the leader, Ken Schrader, and Rudd once again trying to show his superiority and his dominance of road course racing in Winston Cup competition.
Boy, he is so smooth, and that car is working so well. I'll tell you another driver that's doing quite well is Dick Johnson, the Australian driver, the red coat Ford number 38. He started 18th, Bob, and he's already up to 11th.
Dick, of course, with a lot of experience on road courses in his home country of Australia. We'll look for him throughout the afternoon.
You know, some people wondered why Ricky Rudd, who qualified poorly here, and an 8th place qualifying for Ricky Rudd was dismal. Rusty Wallace qualified back in the field. But you know what I think happened to those cars? The Unocal $121,000 money got in their eyes. They tried so hard to get on the pole that they both qualified poorly.
Well, that's a very possible explanation, because Morgan Shepherd you really didn't think of. Oh, and Richard Petty has spun. Looks like that's right up here at the...
And there's Hut Strickland in the high 57 car, one of the rookie drivers. That's as they come off of turn 5, and the caution is out at the start-finish line, so it will be a full-course caution as Richard gets his car righted now and heads back around.
And these guys were battling for 22nd position, Richard Petty and Hut Strickland, when they apparently had a coming together, and both spun, and that has brought out a full-course caution for the first time here at the Budweiser at the Glen. There's Richard Petty, who has gotten his car headed back in the right direction and is circling the racetrack.
And Bob, Jeff Bodine has just made a pit stop. He had made a pit stop earlier and made a 4-tire change. He has come in now, but he'll get back out, stay in the lead lap, and this might work to his advantage, because I think most of the front runners are going to be coming into the pits once they come around. Yes, indeed. Here comes Kenny Schrader and others as Jeff Bodine catches up to Stan Barrett in car number 90, but the leaders are into the pits.
We saw Darren Brassfield in the white car going around with a rubber flying off a left rear tire that he has flat.
So Jeff Bodine stays out onto the racetrack, but most of those who are running up front are in. And look at the crowded pit road. Ricky Rudd is in for a change of rubber on his Quaker State Buick. Bill Elliott is also in for a pit stop. So is Dale Earnhardt and several others who are running up front. Rusty Wallace, the crew cam, we have it on the man who catches the gas. And you can see the action in Rusty Wallace's pit areas. The fuel goes into that car and the tires are being changed. Of course, the fuel...
They have to back him up so he can get out. Boy, that's what we're talking about, the pit congestion, and they had to back Rusty Wallace up so he could get out of the pits. That cost him an extra few seconds.
The hood's up on Bill Elliott's car. The hood is up on Elliott's car. They've got some kind of problem under the hood of Bill Elliott. Oh, he's going to be last in the field going out.
He remains on pit road as the crew looks it over.
Now they're inside the car. Now they're coming back. Evidently, Ben, it's something on the ignition, maybe, or carburation.
Evidently, the car stalled and just won't start. That looked like it might have been some... Jack Arute is there. Jack, what's going on down there?
Benny, believe it or not, the accelerator is stuck. It hangs up as he goes into the corners. You can see his brother Ernie Elliott working down by the throttle linkage. They are trying to loosen it up. That is definitely something you don't want to have happen to you when you've got 7 turns on a road course, especially at turn 5 where you're hurtling in there at 170. They've tried to fix it, but this is costly for the Coors Melling team.
So Bill Elliott now moves back out onto the racetrack, and here is a replay of the crash that has caused our full course caution. There they are, Richard Petty and Hut Strickland.
And it looks like they just went in there, Bob, and maybe some oil on the track or something, because both of them simultaneously just went around, and it looked like the nose of Richard's car maybe caught the inside guardrail. It didn't look like that they touched each other going in the corner. If so, it happened before they got to that point on the racetrack.
Well, Hut Strickland, one of those involved, comes to a road course for the first time, and he was asked what he thought about it, and he said after he took his first few laps, it was like driving a rocket ship through a sewage pipe.
I never tried that, but I couldn't.
So the caution is out here, and we have seen a tremendous amount of action on pit road. Now, there is the number 8 car driven by Bobby Hillen, who is shown as the leader of this race. But there sure was a lot of action on pit road, and that will indicate what we have in store for us this afternoon, both on the track and on pit road. We'll be right back. We're still under caution here at Watkins Glen, New York. A spin up in turn number 7 involving Richard Petty and Hut Strickland has brought out the first full course caution, and Bill Elliott continues to have problems as the hood is up once again on his car on pit road. Jack Arute is right there.
Bob, what they're doing is they're taking the luxury of trying to fix this faulty accelerator throttle cable that they've got. They've pulled the hood, they've pulled the air cleaner, and they're trying to fix it up right now. Now, also, we talk about congestion here. A lot of the front runners were actually blocked and had to go into reverse gear, go back into forward, and do K-turns to get out of the pits. The namely was Rusty Wallace and Terry Labonte, as well as Kenny Schrader. That was costly in their in and out, so to speak, and where they run out on pit road versus out on the racetrack. For more information from pit road, let's check in with Jerry Punch. Jerry?
Well, Jack Morgan Shepherd also had to make a K-turn getting out. He was boxed in with the Davey Allison car trying to fit. It cost them some valuable time. I'm with Butch Mock, the co-owner for the Raymond car. And Butch, your car was backing up just a little bit prior to that caution flag. Morgan was backing through the field. Was there a problem with the car?
No, we don't not having any problems at all. You know, we led the first little bit of the race, and Morgan said he's going to settle down at a nice pace. And he said some of those guys are out braking and going in the corner, and he just doesn't want to burn the car up. I think we're going to be in good shape. You know, everything's fine.
Morgan trying to save the brakes. We're going back to green. Bob?
All right, and here comes Ricky Rudd on the inside as he got a great jump on Bobby Hillen as the green flag came out, and Rudd is going to lead the group into turn number 1. Hillen falls into 2nd position, and Ken Schrader to 3rd, but Rudd has taken over the lead of this race. Here comes Schrader on the inside of Bobby Hillen to try to take over 2nd position as they move up through the S's. That's Phil Parsons running there in 4th spot.
Looks like that the Crown pit crew did some great job. If Phil, he probably just stopped for gas only. And it looks like that Bobby Hillen might have just put gas only because Schrader trying to get by. Bobby Hillen was running extremely well before this caution flag fell. And Schrader does take that spot away. And Mark Martin on the inside of Phil Parsons takes the spot away. And Rusty Wallace going by Darrell Walter. Labonte goes by Sterling Marlin. Races everywhere.
Labonte came out of the pits in 11th position, so he's trying to move up after losing some spots as he came in for a pit stop there during our full course caution. There is Phil Parsons trying to maintain his position. There is Labonte in the Budweiser Ford car number 11.
You can see how close they run down to the inside of that turn as they come off of turn 7.
Rudd leads him down. Schrader is in 2nd. Rusty Wallace is on the left side of your screen trying to pass Phil Parsons, and he does so successfully, so Wallace is marching toward the front. sixth spot. Rusty Wallace has moved to sixth.
He was in sixth before he went into the pits, and he was one of those drivers that got boxed in, had to get in reverse before he could get out of the pits. Cost him a couple extra positions.
Dale Earnhardt is running just ahead of him, and Phil Parsons is just behind him. Then comes Darrell Waltrip and our pole sitter, Morgan Shepherd.
Now, at that shot, it doesn't look like those cars are running that fast, but they're flat moving on when they get to that point of the racetrack.
About 175 miles an hour as we was looking down the windshield of those automobiles, and bumper to bumper.
Rusty Wallace, who has fallen to fifth in the point standings.
Ooh, gas coming out of Dale Earnhardt's car as he went around that corner.
And boy, I tell you, that is so bad, because I finished about fifth here one year. Rusty Wallace was losing fuel out that car, and I would come up behind him, he'd lose fuel, and I'd almost spin out every time. As we see Wallace trying to get by Dale Earnhardt going in turn one. Can he outbrake him? Yes, he did.
Just drove down on the inside, took the position, and I don't think Earnhardt fought him too bad on that. It's too early in the race to be getting there and banging around too much.
Rusty Wallace from Fenton, Missouri, now finds himself in fifth position. Bobby Hillen, meanwhile, holds his position in third. A great job of driving for this young man after a great qualifying effort. Jerry Punch has more.
Well, gentlemen, we mentioned the fact that Bobby Hillen came in from that caution flag in ninth spot and came out as the leader. The reason, well, the veteran crew chief, Harry Hyde, made a calculated gamble. He changed only 2 tires, where everyone else changed 4. Now, what Mark Martin and some of the drivers behind Hillen have to remember is that Hillen has only 2 fresh tires, while they have 4. If they bide their time, Hillen's tires will go away, and they'll have a shot to get by. But Hyde wanted to put the youngster up front, and he did. Right now, he's hanging on the 3rd spot.
Yeah, he is, Jerry, doing a fine job of holding off the challenge of Mark Martin, who is right behind him. Ken Schrader is ahead of Mark Martin. Here they come down the straightaway once again as they get into single file formation. Nobody at this moment pulling out to attempt to pass into turn number 1. So it's Schrader second, then comes Hillen, then Mark Martin, and Rusty Wallace. We're looking out the side window of Jeff Bodine's car.
That's Dick Johnson behind him. Dick getting up on the inside of the tires a little bit.
Ooh.
Boy, that's
get
getting
awfully
close
to that guardrail, don't they, Ned?
Yeah, sure do.
Dick Johnson, the Australian touring car champion, just behind. His season is over in Australia, so he is running as many Winston Cup races as possible.
We mentioned that Jeff Bodine had made a second pit stop just as the caution was coming out, so that has allowed him to get back up in the thick of things. He had probably dropped back to at least 30th position when he made his first pit stop, but when he came in, and then he didn't have to pit under the caution, so he's back up there in about 12th position.
Dick Johnson running in 13th.
The vent that we see right in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, that is a vent that goes inside the car and blows air on the driver.
Here comes Rusty Wallace to try to pick up another position. He's trying to pass Bobby Hillen as they go, or rather Mark Martin. He has indeed passed Mark Martin, and he is looking toward the front, and his nemesis, Ricky Rudd. Wallace now in 4th.
Boy, he can flat drive a road course, and they have a good automobile, too.
I tell you what, you really and truly can't say too much about the job that Rusty Wallace and Ricky Rudd both do on road courses. The cars are good, but they just so smooth. Well, Rusty isn't that smooth. Every time he comes off the corner, you see the back end flying around, but boy, does he get around the racetrack.
Yeah, there's 2 different driving styles there in Ricky Rudd and Rusty Wallace, but the end result is that they get the job done. Jerry Punch, how about your opinion on Rusty Wallace?
Well, Ned, you mentioned Rusty had a good car. That may be a little bit of an understatement. In fact, this is the same car that Rusty used to win 2 times with the Riverside, California, and also it's the car he won with here at Watkins Glen back in 1987. This car has finished either first or second in every single race he's entered, so I guess he has a pretty good shot at it today, Ned. Let's go up pit road to Jackaroo.
Well, Jerry, we were staying on top of that problem with the accelerator linkage on Bill Elliott's car. They have cured the problem. It seems it was a faulty Heim joint. They've replaced it, and he's back, and he reports on the radio there's no more stickage in the accelerator between the foot and the throttle.
And a real interesting moment there coming off of quarter number 7 as we'll watch Bill Elliott. But Darrell Waltrip went shooting to the inside to try to pick up a position. I thought maybe he was about to make contact with somebody, but we couldn't see. It looks like he is okay there, and Waltrip in car number 17 is in 8th spot.
And he's another of the smoothies out on the racetrack. He doesn't really hustle the car around that much, but he gets around the racetrack.
Here is Mark Martin and Dale Earnhardt battling side by side as Earnhardt picks up a spot and a spin by number 88, Jimmy Spencer. That's the Buddy Baker car. And he gets it headed in the right direction, and this will undoubtedly not cause a full course caution as Spencer is moving once again. He, of course, crashed last Friday, did a considerable amount of damage to the car, but they were able to repair it and get him going here this afternoon.
Well, actually, he's using a backup car, Bob. The car that he crashed in practice was damaged too much to repair, and they had to get out a backup car, which was not really ready for a road course. Let's take a look at it again at what happened. You can see as he started out of that turn, the back end just broke loose on him, and around he went. A good job by Dick Trickle, who was running right behind him. He got on the binders, got slowed down enough to get around him.
And that was exactly where you were standing at the tease of our show, in turn 1, right in the middle of the corner, and it is tough corner for these guys to get around.
Well, you can just get in there. It's so easy to get in there too fast, and it almost becomes an off-camber turn when you get in there, and you got a 3,500 pounds on you. It's hard to get slowed down sometimes.
The number 13 car that we saw there just briefly is being driven this weekend by Oma Kimbrough, the open wheel driver who is in Winston Cup racing here this afternoon. Rudd, Schrader, then Bobby Hillen and Rusty Wallace. Mark Martin, we understand, in the number 6 car may have a tire going down. Jerry, can you tell us more about that?
Well, just a minute ago, the crew of the Stroh's Light Ford scampered over the wall and held the pit board up as Mark came by. He has a lot of some other colored paint on the right side of the car. He thought he may have rubbed someone and cut a right rear tire. As he came by that time, Steve Beal, the crew chief, looked at the car and said, it appears to be okay. Take one more lap, and if it still vibrates, come in, we'll be waiting on you. They're watching and waiting right now to see if Mark Martin will make an entry on the pit road. Bob?
We'll keep our eye open for that. He will not as he comes off corner number 7 and maintains full throttle. So he stays out there on the racetrack. But now look at Rusty Wallace. He is right up on the back bumper of Bobby Hillen's car, looking to take over 3rd position, but at the moment is unable to do so.
And when you say he's on the rear bumper, going to turn 1, he was literally on the rear bumper of Bobby Hillen. Now let's see if he has the power to draft by down the back straightaway. He can use some of the draft, a little bit slingshot going in the turn 5. Let's see if he's got enough. No, Hillen pulled away from him down the back.
Hillen's strong on the straightaways, no question about that. So Rusty's going to have to follow him into that turn and see if he can catch him a little wide or something like that to get by.
There's a lot of debris on the racetrack. They're in the middle of the 5/8 mile straightaway, and it looks like somebody has shredded a tire. We understand Stan Barrett in car number 90 shredded the tire, and it's all over the racetrack. One of the cars will drive through it. Here is a replay, and watch on the left side of the screen as Barrett comes down, and we'll look for that tire to disintegrate.
Evidently, it's already flat, and then it just completely comes apart as he comes off the turn and hits down the straightaway.
There's not much he can do. He's on the back straightaway. He's got to get the pits to get a new one. Look, Schrader pulled up on the back bumper of Ricky. Where did Tim Schrader come from? He's not supposed to be a road racer.
He's having a great weekend so far. Rudd maintains the lead. Schrader runs in 2nd position. Then comes Bobby Hillen in 3rd, and Rusty Wallace maintaining that 4th position. In 5th would be Dale Earnhardt. 6th is Martin. 7th is Darrell Waltrip. 8th is the pole sitter Morgan Shepherd. 9th is Terry Labonte, and in 10th position is the 55 car of Phil Parsons.
11th right now is Sterling Marlin. 12th is Jeff Bodine. 13th, Dick Johnson. Rick Wilson runs 14th. Davey Allison, 15th. Dave Marcus having a good run in 16th. 17th is Tom Kendall. Dale Jarrett is 18th. Neil Bryant 19th. And Michael Waltrip is in the 30 car in 20th position.
Boy, Rusty Wallace is just all over Bobby Hillen, but he can't find the opportunity.
It is exciting. Let's see. Maybe he'll try the grass trick one more time off turn 7.
No, it really hadn't gotten down on the grass that time. It had got on the inside of it.
So Rusty continues to run in fourth, but here he comes now to the inside and will try to outbreak Hillen going into turn one, and he'll do it. Rusty Wallace moves to third position.
Now that's a sign of a good handling automobile when you can drive down in there that hard and the car will stick.
All right, so it's Rudd in the lead. Ken Schrader running in second position, and Rusty Wallace moving to third. Back with more live action from Watkins Glen, New York.
They do agree on is that you need an antifreeze coolant that handles extreme conditions, like scorching heats of up to 276 degrees and bone-numbing colds down to 84 below. That's why Rusty and Alan both agree on Xerox antifreeze coolant.
Come on, let's go.
All right, I'll drive.
I've seen you drive. I'll drive.
Xerox antifreeze coolant, because extreme conditions demand extreme protection.
Watkins Glen, New York, where J.D. McDuffie in car number 70 has spun. We're
under caution for the second time. It has brought the caution out, and the leaders are coming into the pits.
But, boy, let me tell you something. Ricky Rudd and Rusty Wallace got killed on this. Neither of those come in the pits. They're on the racetrack. They'll be last when this thing restarts.
Jack Arute is there in the pit area.
Kenny Schrader has come onto pit road. He is completing the service. They are going to change 4 tires all the way around. Let's check in with Jerry Punch with Mark Martin.
Already changed left side tires. Now they're going to work on that problem right side. Look at the right rear of the car. There's a big crease where it says Strohs, and they are looking there of changing tires. Robin Timmons, Steve Mill in the crew. He is down on the way. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Jerry, they completed the work on Kenny Schrader's car, but now they held him up so that actually they could reduce the congestion here. They held him up, and Darrell Waltrip passed him. A NASCAR official held him for just a second.
Well, almost everyone else in the pits too, but as Benny pointed out, first couple of cars up there, they're gonna be in tough shape.
No, Wallace and Rudd and Hillen all stayed on the racetrack. And you think they'll take a chance on pitting down there?
Well, I can't imagine that they would, and maybe it was planned that they would stay out there. I mean, the cars are working well, and even though Hillen only took on 2 tires the last time around, maybe they decided to just stay out there.
There, see Barry Dodson talking to the NASCAR official. I think that was a late caution. But Jack Arute, what's going on?
Well, Benny, here's exactly what happened as we wait for Rusty Wallace to come on the pit road. They said they threw the caution just a little bit too late for Rusty to duck on the pit road. So he had to go an extra lap. A miscue by the Kodiak crew. But so far, they are waiting for him to present the car because they do indeed intend to bring him in and change all 4 tires. They were very disappointed by this miscue.
Well, that's what I thought happened. The yellow just did not come out soon enough for him to come into the pit, so we'll see what happens here.
But Ken Schrader, let's give a call to Schrader because he was on top of things. He was running second. He came into the pits, and 1, 3, 5, 4 did not.
But he did hit the pylons coming into the pit area. Schrader did, and that's a 15-second penalty.
So that's why they were holding Schrader in the pits. Jenkins, you are a genius. You have solved the problem. You have solved it.
Well, let's see if these guys come in. They're coming off the 7th corner now. And indeed they are. Here comes Wallace and Rudd, and Bobby Hillen will watch from the crew cam. Rusty Wallace's stop.
We watch from the crew cam. You can see the work going on for Rusty Wallace's team as they begin to change 4 tires. Now the gas goes in. 11 gallons of Union 76 gas. They have exchanged the left side tires. The jack goes up, and they're about to complete the exchange of right side tires as well. Very noisy here. He's off and away. Slaps it back into gear. A quick stop.
Wallace moves back out onto the racetrack. So does Ricky Rudd and Bobby Hillen, as we are now 24 laps into the Budweiser at the Glen from Watkins Glen, New York. Track Facts are brought to you by the Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug.
Twice a year, the NASCAR Winston Cup drivers tackle road courses. First, Sears Point, California, and then here at Watkins Glen, New York. A typical 90-degree corner on a road course. 3 critical areas. First, the turn-in. Get it in the corner. The apex, right in the middle of the corner. And then the trail out. And you can see the red dots. We've got to come out right against the red dot. perfect line. The turn-in is late, right to the bottom of the racetrack in the apex, and letting the car come out. Here, incorrect line. The turn-in is good, but we don't get close enough to the apex, and the trail out is terrible. We're going to scrub a tremendous amount of speed and not get nearly enough speed down the straightaway. There we see the yellow line. That's a perfect corner for a road course.
The green flag has just come out, and we are racing once again at Watkins Glen. It is Dale Earnhardt and Morgan Shepherd side by side into turn number 1. Earnhardt comes away with the lead. Now here comes Mark Martin on the inside to take second position from Morgan Shepherd, and Rick Wilson runs in 4th position.
There we see Ken Schrader in 5th, but I tell you what, those two cars going through turn 1 side by side. Kind of exciting there for a moment, wasn't it?
It certainly was. It's a pretty wide turn, but still there's only one good fast groove there.
Here comes Schrader to the inside of Rick Wilson, and Schrader moves up another notch. He's now in 4th. The NASCAR officials are warning the Ricky Rudd crew that he almost jumped the start, and if he does so again, it may be a penalty. Jerry, can you tell us more about that?
Well, actually, it was both the 26 and the 27 car that were back in the back of the field, but both the crew chiefs have retaliated and said, hey, you know, that yellow flag deal got us way back there. If I would have come out a little earlier, we could all pit it at the same time. So they had a pretty good case themselves. But unfortunately, it will go for naught as both Rudd and Wallace had to find their way to the front with a lot of cars in front of them. Bob?
They came out onto the racetrack in 21st and 22nd positions. That is Rusty Wallace and Ricky Rudd. They're moving up. The 18 car is driven by Tom Kendall from La Canada, California.
You know whose car that is? That 18 car we saw just a moment? He's there behind the 30 car, behind the Michael Walter car. That car is Rick Hendrick's car, the one that he drove last year.
Riverside. Yeah.
And he got it out, started dusting it off, and his wife said, what are you doing? And he said, I'm going to go racing. She said, Tom Kendall's going to, somebody else is going to drive that car. You're not going to drive it.
He's doing a great job in 12th position, Jerry.
You know, I just talked to Rick Hendrick a little bit ago. He's here along with Tom Cruise. We were talking this morning in the back of the truck. They were making that movie out at the West Coast of Paramount Pictures, that racing movie. And Rick said, you know, I promised my wife that I wouldn't drive the car, but I wanted to come watch it run anyway. That's the car, as you said, he drove at Riverside last year and finished 15th in it. But Tom Kendall, a senior at UCLA, driving it here at Watkins Glen, doing a pretty good job. Gentlemen?
Well, of course, Kendall is no stranger whatever to racing, or especially to road racing, as he has quite a bit of experience. He is a 3-time IMSA GTU champion. He finished 38th in his Winston Cup debut in 1988, and then finished in 18th in the second race last year. So this is his 3rd Winston Cup. Oh, look at the debris on the racetrack once again. I can't tell what it is. Maybe a piece of tape or something?
It might be paper or something.
Yeah.
It looked like it was blowing pretty easily as the cars went by.
Well, it's Dale Earnhardt in the lead, and we're following the number 5 car of Jeff Bodine because we have noticed, looks like that could be metal, yeah, and that certainly presents a hazard to the cars. Running over that could cause a blown tire.
It sure could. I'm sure that NASCAR will either send someone out, a course worker, to go out while some of the cars, there's not cars going by, or they will throw a caution flag.
We're out the back glass of Jeff Bodine's car, looking back on Phil Parsons.
Phil still having a good run. Just ahead of Darrell Waltrip. You see Darrell's black car just behind Phil there occasionally.
You can hear him on and off the gas and shifting.
And here's where he really has to shift down and really get on the brakes.
There we have the shot out the window, the side window. Apparently no one at the moment moving to the inside to make a move down the front stretch.
Bill Parsons running awfully well today, able to keep up with the outside pole sitter, it seems, for almost an entire lap.
Running in 8th place right now. Bill is having a good run.
Runs good on road courses. He and I drove Tex Powell's road course car a couple of years ago. Got some experience, and he does a good job.
There is Dale Earnhardt, Mark Martin, and Morgan Shepherd, who finds himself in third position now. He dropped back several spots before we had that first caution, but since we have come off the second caution under green conditions, Shepherd has been able to maintain his position, and another full-course caution comes out over Watkins Glen, and Shepherd wants to take second away from Mark Martin, and he does.
Yeah, he maybe doesn't know the caution is coming out. His crew should have told him, but he decided he wanted to get on around him, and if they do come into the pits, he would, of course, be that much farther ahead, but he will keep the position. They race back to the flag, and they do not come into the pits this time around.
I don't know. I thought maybe Dale was trying to fake people out there as he went to the inside coming off that 7th corner, but did not come in. In fact, it appears as if none of those running up front will come in for a pit stop. So we take another break, and we'll be back with more of our live coverage of the Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race right after this.
The call of the road. You feel excitement. Get on your Pontiac and ride. Pontiac ride. Drive. Pontiac drive. Ride. Pontiac. Get on your Pontiac. We build excitement.
ESPN Speed World today at Watkins Glen International Raceway for the second road course race of the 1989 Winston Cup season. We are under caution for the third time this afternoon, and we're waiting to see if we're going to have some pit stops. And it appears as if we will not, as everybody is staying out behind the pace car. Well, it's almost hard to believe, but football time is here once again. Preseason action on ESPN tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern Time live. The game between the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals. Preseason NFL tonight at 8 o'clock live here on ESPN.
None of the drivers wanted to give up that track position to make a pit stop. A lot of them probably would like to go in, and they probably need to go in, maybe adjust the car, change tires, but when they do, they've got to go back to the absolute rear of the field, and it's just too much track to make up. Ricky Rudd and Rusty Wallace, you know that they're so upset now that they have to go through all these cars to get back to the front.
You may have noticed that Morgan Shepherd, who had taken over second position from Mark Martin, has moved back to third as we get ready for the restart here at Watkins Glen.
Here's to Terry Labonte and the Junior Johnson Budweiser Racing Team, winners of the Talladega 500.
This Bud's for you. For yours.
Track Facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will.
This is a radiator hose off of a production streetcar. It's made of rubber and held in place with these hose clamps. This is a radiator hose off of a Winston Cup stock car. It's also made of rubber, but it's been covered with a stainless steel braid. It also is held in place with these fittings. They are tightened with a wrench. All through the car we use these type of fittings. This is an oil line here, water lines, fuel lines, all with this stainless steel aircraft style hose. If you tried to use just a regular rubber type hose on one of these oil lines, it would just explode.
There's a lot of difference in the equipment used on a Winston Cup car and on a passenger car, but when things heat up, Jackaroot, I guess there's one way that you use to cool both down, right?
Boy, absolutely, Bob. Ice is the big cooler of all things. If we're hot, you use ice. Well, if brakes are hot, as was the case with Bill Elliott's car, you throw ice onto the brake rotors and down by the pads. That's exactly what they did when he came onto pit road to change left side tires. They took a bucket of ice, a cup of ice around each wheel, threw it down there trying to cool them off. For more information on brakes, let's check in with Jerry Punch. Jerry?
One of the big concerns about brakes here, Jack, is the fact that the heat is so intense under the cars that when they stop on pit road, the heat from that brake caliper, that carbon fiber brake, can actually melt the tube and produce an equalized tire. That's what happened a little bit ago to Neil Bonnet. He had to come in and he had an equalized tire, but then he finally had transmission woes and had to park the Citgo Ford. Bill Elliott is also back in the pit. A.J. Foyt had a similar problem. He had an oil temperature go way up in the car. The brakes went away, and he elected to park the car. So as Elliott leaves the pit road, they have finally checked that Coors foil over one more time. A lot of concern here about brakes. Morgan Shepherd, remember, told us at the beginning of the show, he's going to cool his jets early on to keep those brakes as cool as possible to try to get a shot before the end of the day. Bob?
So we've had a lot of activity on the track and off the track so far in the first 35 laps of this event. The lap leaders that we have seen, Morgan Shepherd led the first few laps, then Ken Schrader. Bobby Hillen looked strong for a few laps. He was passed by Ricky Rudd, who held on until we had a caution period, and then Dale Earnhardt also shown as a lap leader. Those who have dropped out of competition include Derek Cope, Alan Kulwicki, Eddie Bierschwale, A.J. Foyt, Neil Bonnet, and J.D. McDuffie. Alan Kulwicki dropping out with an engine failure, his 6th in the last 9 starts. We'll be back right after this. 34, and the green flag comes out once again on Watkins Glen and the Budweiser at the Glen. Here comes the leader, Dale Earnhardt, followed by Morgan Shepherd. In third is Ken Schrader. Fourth belongs to Mark Martin. Then comes Terry Labonte and Rick Wilson as a scramble for position is going on back here for fourth, and Terry Labonte passes Martin.
Martin lost 2 spots since the green flag is dropped.
He was in third, and Kenny Schrader got by him on the restart going into turn 1, and now Terry Labonte has moved around him. Didn't seem to fight him too much, though. It's still a little early in the race to be taking any unnecessary chances.
Inside Jeff Bodine's car, looking at Rick Wilson's Kodak Pontiac. Well, the silly season, of course, well underway in Winston Cup competition. Rick Wilson is someone who has not quite made up his mind what he's going to do for 1989, and neither has Jeff Bodine. Jeff, of course, will not be back in the number 5 car, but where these two will go next year remains pretty much a mystery. Oh, a side-by-side battle into the corner. Woo! And Wilson hits the left side tires off the track just momentarily coming out of the turn.
Yes, he does, but he held on to the position.
How'd they not wreck? I don't understand how they didn't crash there. Wow, that was close.
They're running, Rick Wilson is running 6th, and Jeff Bodine running in the 7th position. Phil Parsons 8th, Sterling Marlin 9th, and Darrell Waltrip running in the 10th position.
Now you can see back here Ricky Rudd and Rusty Wallace are on the track together, and they are trying to thread their way through the traffic. They got off sequence in a pit stop and fell well back into the field, but both are marching toward the front right now again. Now that's the number 18 car of Tom Kendall that is just ahead of Rusty Wallace, and he's got Ricky Rudd in his rearview mirror.
They're running 12th and 13th.
He said he was going to have him in his rearview mirror, but he never dreamed of being in 13th spot.
That far back, right?
Yeah, but it won't be for long, because they're going to be picking them off one at a time. Although they've got some good road racers up ahead of them.
Darrell Waltrip looks inside Sterling Marlin, and Sterling looked like he was inside Phil.
I think Darrell realized it was going to be 3 abreast if he'd have stayed on the gas, so he backed off.
I was going to say common sense prevailed in that little situation.
You know, speaking of Darrell Waltrip, we want to say hello to Margaret Waltrip, his mother, who is home from the hospital today watching us here on ESPN. And Margaret, our prayers and best wishes are with you. We're happy to hear that you're coming along fine, and car number 13 has spun out. He gets off of the track. Let's see. He might be able to get away without a caution. But anyway, we're happy that Mrs. Waltrip was able to come home and watch us here on ESPN today before she goes back to the hospital for more therapy.
Oma Kimbrough, the driver of this number 13 car, graduate of Villanova University, a Bachelor of Science, and has quite a bit of experience in open wheel competition, making his debut in Winston Cup competition here this afternoon. That's the car that used to be driven by Giacomo Giacomo.
Tom Pistone, former driver, turning the wrenches on that car now, the crew chief.
File formation down the straightaway once again. Now we see Sterling Marlin moving out. Here comes Rudd moving out as we... Now watch Jeff Bodine's car on the left front as he moves through the Essence. Look how far off the ground that left front tire is.
Boy, he just carries it right over those ripples down on the inside.
Yeah, those ripples don't bother him a bit because the tire's off the ground. That's a great shot, guys.
running in 6th position in the Lumina.
We see that Jeff has been able to get by Rick Wilson and take that spot away from Rick.
That moved up into 6th. Rick Wilson is running in 7th. Once again inside Jeff Bodine's car. Mark Martin just ahead.
We see, you know, those bruises we saw on Mark Martin's car in the pit stop a little bit ago. I think Mark Martin ran into a guardrail someplace. That's what that looked like to me.
Well, he got awfully close over there at one point.
Looks like he might have gotten a little bit too close. Jeff Bodine hit in that turn very, very well. Now, Jeff shifts more than anybody else around this racetrack. He's in 2nd, shifts to 3rd. He'll carry 3rd down to turn 1, and we'll go back to 1st gear, Bob Jenkins. 1st gear.
He has a special transmission as far as the gearing inside of the transmission, which permits him to do that. As we watch Morgan Shepherd continue to dog Dale Earnhardt, but, you know, I said at the top of the show that road racing maybe was not Earnhardt's long suit. Hey, he's making me look a little bad here right now. He's doing okay out there.
He sure is. He's been able to hold that lead now for quite a few laps.
Well, Dale Earnhardt is a good race driver, period, but he just hasn't had as much success on road courses in the past as some of the other drivers.
His best finish on a road course, 2nd, and that occurred 3 different times. Here comes Jeff Bodine alongside of and now past Mark Martin, so Jeff Bodine moves to 5th.
He gets around this racetrack very well. He had those problems early in the race, had to make an unscheduled pit stop, and then got himself back in sequence as far as pit stops were concerned by making a quick pit stop just before the first caution came out, so that put him back in good shape, and he now is up there battling up near the front. Oh, here's a good battle. Look at all of those cars.
But Rusty has got by those 3 cars. Phil Parsons, Sterling Marlin, Darrell Walter. He's got by it. Ricky Rudd can't get by those cars. And he needs to quickly, because I'll tell you what, 90 laps, when cars run this close, it's not a long ways. Ricky tries. He looks on the inside. Sterling can't make it. Darrell Walter makes the pass. Ricky, get going, bud.
Doesn't look quite as strong, Ricky doesn't, as he did in the early part of the race. Could be that the set of tires he has on now is not matched quite as well as some others, but not able to pass quite as easily as he did up front.
Watching Rick Wilson and Rusty Wallace in the battle for 7th position. Rick Wilson doing a fine job in that Kodak Film Oldsmobile. We ask him, does running into the curbing around this track make it a little bit more exciting for you? Here's what Rick told us.
Well, it's exciting. You know, I don't know if that's where it comes in that we're crazy or what, but, you know, we'll hit them and the car will come up off the ground and we'll never lift. You just keep going right on through there, and hopefully when it settles in the right direction. And normally it does. I don't know if the good Lord's looking at us or whatever, but it does. And, you know, you could probably come here and watch a Can-Am race or something. Them guys are so smooth and they look like the cars are glued to the ground. They come here and watch us, they're going to see something, because, you know, we're all over the place, but we manage to keep it on the racetrack sometimes.
And that is the appeal of Winston Cup racing. Rick Wilson now right behind Rusty Wallace. Here comes Ricky Rudd in car number 26, having quite a bit of difficulty moving through the traffic.
He got by Sterling Marlin. Now Darrell Walter, the next obstacle in front of Ricky.
Fans are wondering about Bill Elliott. Even after all of his problems, he's still on the lead lap and running in 20th position right now. We can add another car to those out of the race at the moment is Dick Trickle, the leading rookie contender this year on the NASCAR Winston Cup circuit. He lost the cylinder and ran around for a while, and now he's in the pits or behind pit wall with the hood up on his Miller car number 84.
We've completed 40 laps, and the number 11 car of Terry Labonte has now moved up another position, going around Ken Schrader, so the Labonte car runs in 3rd at the moment. We have completed 40 laps, and in less than 5 at the halfway point, 45 laps, there will be $10,000 awarded to the winner. The right guard halfway challenge will be in effect here this afternoon, and the leader of the race at the halfway point will receive $10,000. Here goes Jeff Bodine trying to pass Ken Schrader, and doing so into turn 1.
Wow, he must have brakes out of this world on that car. What a out-braking job that was.
Yeah, he just drove her right on down in there, and she stuck, too, once he got in there, so he does have good brakes on the car. Dave Marcus just slowed dramatically as he went into turn 1 in the Lifebuoy Chevrolet.
Now, Schrader has lost 2 positions here in the last lap. And let's look at the out-braking that Jeff does.
I mean, they're almost into the corner when Jeff pulls out and he drives 2 or 3 car lengths by Ken Schrader.
Plus the fact, Benny, that he can get down in first gear. That helps him to slow down. You mentioned a moment ago that he's the only driver out there that has a transmission, so he can get into first gear going into that turn, and that does help him to slow down.
Very true.
So there's Bodine as he has moved to 4th position. And we'll take a look at the top 15 at the end of 40 of 90 laps here at the Budweiser at the Glen. We'll be back right after this. At Watkins Glen, where the number 27 car of Rusty Wallace is on the move. He has passed Ken Schrader and now has moved up into 5th position.
He passed Mark Martin in turn 5 and came around to turn 1 and passed Ken Schrader. So, yes, he is definitely on the move. And look, he's going to look at Jeff Bodine on the inside. Can't do it. Has to pull back in.
We're looking out the back glass now. Side glass of Bodine's car. Here comes Wallace, and he's got him. He moves to 4th.
Wow, we talked about the brakes on Bodine's car. Rusty must really have some brakes. And look, Rusty almost into the dirt coming off that corner.
He carried her high. That's why he hustled the car around. Maybe Bodine has a problem. Here comes Ken Schrader trying to move around him once again.
Well, Schrader has dropped back 3 positions here in the last couple of laps, but now retakes one of those spots as he passes teammate Jeff Bodine. And now Mark Martin, the number 6. Bodine's coming in for a pit stop.
Yeah, he's got a flat tire or something. And this is another time that he comes in, second time for an unscheduled pit stop. Jerry Punch is there.
Well, actually, Ned Jarrett, it's Jack Rusty was. Waddell Wilson brings Jeff Bodine to a stop. The report is that he may have a flat tire. They're going to change the left sides. They're working on that right now, and now they're going to the right sides as well. In order to be safe, they will change all 4 tires. 13 seconds. It's ticking away here. It's a very long time on pit road, but they're making absolutely sure of all their work at the present time. Past the 20-second mark. They have filled the fuel. They dropped the jack, and he's off and away in 24.1 seconds.
Levi Garrett Chevrolet moving back out onto the racetrack after an unscheduled stop for Jeff Bodine.
I tell you what, he is not catching many breaks today because that's twice he's made unscheduled pit stops. And
for 4 tires.
Now here is Dale Earnhardt showing his muscle out there on the racetrack as Oma Kimbrough has a little bit of black paint on the right side of his car.
And they're coming around for the halfway mark, I believe, for that $10,000. And Dale Earnhardt wants to get there first.
And there it is. Earnhardt has the lead at the halfway point and so wins $10,000 in the right guard halfway challenge.
He has just put a lap on Jimmy Means there in the Alka-Seltzer Pontiac. Jimmy's scheduled on Tuesday to sign a contract for next year for sponsorship. We hope that works out.
More on the halfway challenge, Jerry Punch.
Well, gentlemen, very interesting. A lot of people are thinking Morgan Shepherd may have be holding something back a little bit, but a minute ago, Butch Mock and Bob Rahilly both told Morgan to go ahead and push the car and try to get the halfway money. Morgan turned up the wick, but it didn't do him any good because Earnhardt just pulled away even more. So Earnhardt is definitely very, very strong today. And I tell you, I think he's showing a lot of people he is indeed a road racer as well as a short track driver. He's doing a heck of a job. Bob?
You're absolutely right. He is just turning in a phenomenal performance. Dale Earnhardt is. And you can see the interval he has opened up over Morgan Shepherd, who's running in second. Rusty Wallace, by the way, has moved to 3rd.
Yeah, let's don't forget to tell these people he got by Terry Labonte. He is in 3rd, and I believe he's gaining, Mr. Jenkins.
Yeah, I believe he's definitely gaining. There is Labonte back in 4th, and the battle for, well, that isn't a battle as it is Ken Schrader, who is lapping the 13 car of Oma Kimbrough.
Parsons comes on. Phil Parsons got by Mark Martin, so he has a good run going for him this afternoon.
But we saw the 26 car of Ricky Rudd, and Rudd just doesn't seem to be able to march toward the front as Rusty Wallace has been able to do. And he's in the pits, as a matter of fact. Rudd is in the pits. Kimbrough leads him down. At least he was ahead of Ricky Rudd, and Jerry Punch will report on this pit stop.
Ricky Rudd brings the Quaker State Buick to a halt. And Larry McReynolds, Wayne Bumgarner, and the crew go to work on the left side of the car. That's the outside of the car. Remember, they're changing left side tires. A lot of concern over the heat that goes up in these tires, and possibly an equalized tire, maybe even a blistered tire. In fact, one of the tires supposedly coming off the Bodine car was a blistered tire. They will change right side tires. They want to make sure they get all 4 tires on there. 20 seconds. The clock now ticking away. Fuel can in. The car off the jack down to 24.3 seconds. A lengthy stop and Rudd is down and away.
Brett Bodine is also in the pits. And, Jerry, you mentioned a blister tire. They have new pavement here up through the S's, and that puts a lot of extra pressure, and the tires are sticking better up through there. But, Benny, that's the fastest point on the racetrack. It also will put a lot of heat in the tires.
It will put a tremendous amount of heat. And that, as you said, the fastest part of the racetrack, and that's where you build up that speed, that heat, is with speed and trying to corner the car.
And now Rudd has a lot of racetrack between himself and the leaders. Here comes Earnhardt, followed by Shepard, and then Rusty Wallace. Here comes Terry Labonte, Ken Schrader, Phil Parsons, and Mark Martin. Jack Arute, Terry Labonte may have a problem with that car.
Well, Bob, basically what's happened is Terry Labonte worked his brakes so hard early on in this race that he's boiled the fluid. So now he's going to have to nurse his brakes until they stop as we watch Darrell Waltrip come onto pit road for service. So that's a tough break for Labonte, at least for 12 or 20 laps or so. He's going to have to do it. As we watch the pit stop here by Darrell Waltrip. They are changing the tires, making the moves right now. They're filling the car up with Union 76 gasoline. A lot of people feeling that Waltrip would have run better so far, but he is still back out and away.
Pretty good pit stop for Darrell Waltrip.
And I think he had a tire flat. They had to lift that car up before they could get the jack under. Davey Allison also in for an unscheduled pit stop. So is Richard Petty in the STP Pontiac. So a number of the cars that were still running in the lead lap. In fact, Petty was running up in the top 15 before he came into the pits. Davey Allison as well. We see Davey going out. We mentioned Dave Marcus a moment ago. We saw his car in the picture there just for a moment. Dave is still circling the track at a very slow speed. Dale Earnhardt, the leader, coming into the pits. Well, maybe it's scheduled pit stops. Maybe they're not unscheduled. I thought they could go another 5 or 6 or 8 laps before they come in, but they're not taking any chances. So here's the leader, Dale Earnhardt, in the pits.
And we'll watch the Richard Childress and Shelmerdine-led crew go to work. Let's go to Jack Arute.
And they have already gone to work on the left side tires, and now they're going to go to the right sides as well. Dale Earnhardt, the Mr. Good Wrench crew, the Flying Aces. But there is a problem with Earnhardt's car. It has stopped running. He is trying to restart it right now. NASCAR officials are holding him.
It'll be a 15-second penalty, Jack. He missed the pit entrance and apparently hit one of those pylons when he came into the pits.
They are still holding him. They're trying to push start the car because it stalled. They have held him, and now there's certainly going to be some confrontation here between NASCAR and Richard Childress as they will discuss this penalty. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Let's mention the fact that Ricky Rudd's pit stop and Davey Allison's pit stop were indeed scheduled pit stops. Rudd had radioed in and said he thought he was out of gas, but that was not the case. They came in, and it's a good thing they did. Both he and Davey Allison. Take a look at their right front tires. This is the right front tire off a 28 car. It is totally blistered out on the rim. These big chunks of rubber have been pulled away, and that is now getting a lot of crew chiefs and crews concerned here on pit road. This tire only had about 30 laps on it, maybe 31 laps total, and they are very, very concerned about peeling the rubber away on some of the cars. Bob?
All right, well, that's the situation on pit road, as some very interesting developments there with the Dale Earnhardt situation as they try to hold him. Now we find that it is Rusty Wallace running in second position to Morgan Shepard. Here they come off the corner, and Wallace may make a bid for the lead. He gets the car way down on the inside of the racetrack, and he, I believe, is going to be able to take over the lead from Morgan Shepard. Let's see who has the advantage going in side by side.
Whoa! I need to get out and jump around. This is exciting stuff.
Rusty's got him.
Takes it away.
Boy, I tell you, that car is working, and he's driving the wheels off it. Now, let's take a look at Earnhardt coming into the pits and what caused that penalty. Here he is now, coming off of turn 7 and heading down into the pits. Well,
now what happened to his car?
He was way outside the pits. You're not supposed to do that.
No.
Boy, he came all the way through those.
His car stopped. His car came off that corner and stopped.
Yeah, okay.
And he had no choice but to go through those pylons.
So he'd take a 15-second break rather than get lodged out on the racetrack somewhere.
Exactly.
Good thinking on his part.
So that's the situation. Here is Darrell Waltrip and Ricky Rudd battling for the spot out there on the racetrack.
Jimmy Schrader's in the pits right now. So scheduled pit stops, as Jerry Punch pointed out, coming up here.
Schrader was running in third position. Jackaroo is there.
And Bob, it's just a normal pit stop for Ken Schrader and the Folgers machine. It's percolating quite well right now. They've gone to the left side. They've just about, in fact, they have completed their work there. Now over to the right side, the crew jacking the car up. They've already removed the lug nuts. So now all the tire changers have to do is pull the tire off, put the new one on, hit the lug wrench, and they'll finish their work and drop the jack. That's precisely what they've done, and Schrader's backing away.
Jim Sauter in car number 44. The Bob Tullius Group 44 car is in for a pit stop. They're changing the rubber on the left side, now moving around to the right side of that car.
Well, Jarrett just went out to Hardy's Pontiac. He made a left side tire change only. They're changing 4, as you said, on this car number 44, the Group 44 car.
Jim Sauter was running in 15th position when he came in for the stop. Still working on the right side of that race car, and now it's down off the jacks and moving away. And accelerating out is Jim Sauter as we have the view from over his right shoulder. Gaining speed down pit road. Rusty Wallace, the leader of this race, we understand is going to be pitting next time around. We'll watch for that. He has opened up a little bit of an advantage over Morgan Shepherd.
Bill Parsons was just in, running in the top 5 in 6th position. Well, he actually moved up to 4th before he came into the pits as a result of the other pit stops. There is Bill Parsons now in the Ground School Oldsmobile getting a 4-tire change. Jerry Punch is there.
Well, Richard Jackson's crew doing an excellent job changing down the left side tires. They've already changed the right side tires. He is down and away. Good move from Bill Parsons, who's having better and better finishes on the road course and heads to turn 1.
And we see Bill Parsons as he leaves the pits. Hello to Crusher Blackwell, his rear tire changer. Had an operation, not be able to do it for a couple of weeks. He's back home. Hello, Crusher.
If Rusty is going to make a pit stop, he'll be getting off the accelerator very soon, and he is not coming in. He stays out on the racetrack. So Rusty Wallace leads Morgan Shepherd here at the Budweiser at the Glen Winston Cup race. We'll be back with more right after this. Back at Watkins Glen, where Rusty Wallace stays out there. Doesn't come in for a pit stop this time either. We expected him in last lap. He didn't come in. We expected him this lap, and he stays out there.
Well, I don't know why all those fellows pitted just a little bit ago. It was certainly not a scheduled pit stop. I mean, it was too early for a scheduled type pit stop. And Rusty Wallace certainly doesn't get any better gas mileage than anyone else out there. And he's making lap after lap. So I don't know exactly why all those cars pitted.
Conrad.
Well, I guess sometimes when one does, others come in, and maybe of course they've got pit people who are keeping track of the laps, know how many laps their car has run since their last pit stop.
It looks to me like maybe when Earnhardt had his problem that everyone thought he'd run out of fuel and made an unscheduled stop. But just think, we talked about the championship earlier on. Just think what's happened to Earnhardt, the leader of the Winston Cup. He is going to go way back if he's not able to get that car back on the racetrack.
And he came into this race only 90 points ahead of Darrell Waltrip and only 165 points separating the top 5 in Winston Cup points. And Wallace still is not coming in. Let's go down to Jackaroo in Rusty's pit. What's the situation down there?
Well, Bob, here's what they're looking for. The magic number is 5-5, the double nickel. If they can go that far, they feel they will not have to make any additional pit stops. So they're trying to just squeeze as much as they can out of it. They feel that some of these extended cautions may have given them the advantage. They're getting ready to take that pit stop right now. But hopefully, they say, if we can get to 5-5, we won't pit anymore.
Well, Jack, there are 54 laps completed, so if he doesn't run out of fuel on this lap, he's going to be able to make it.
And this team is such a great group of gamblers. That's exactly what they're doing. They're getting ready for a pit stop. They have hit what they think is the magic number. One of the things that may have helped them, though, is a computer that they use to figure their mileage, which is resting right back here. That computer has told them what the mileage has been, not only during green flag conditions, but also during cautions. They have computed it, and they are now ready for Rusty Wallace on pit road.
And we'll see if he comes in. Meanwhile, we're watching some great action back in 10th position as Waltrip in 17 and Mark Martin in car number 6 are trying to decide who should have 10th position.
There is quite an argument going over that spot right now.
Quite a bit, yes.
As we watch that, we'll say, in case the fans are wondering about Dale Earnhardt, where he is, as the leader is coming into the pits. Dale Earnhardt is running in the 19th position. He just took over 18th from Dale Jarrett.
And here is Rusty Wallace, Jack Road. Here he comes.
And T-Man stopped the car, and now the crew has gone to work. Barry Dotson on the jack, Jimmy Makar on the front tire. They've exchanged the left front and the left rear. They've completed their work. Dotson around very quickly with the jack. He's underneath the car. It's up and away. They pull the tires off. The new ones go on. Now it's just a question of tightening the lug nuts. They clean the front radiator. They drop Rusty Wallace, and he's away.
Great shot from the crew cam as Rusty Wallace completes a near-perfect pit stop and rolls back out onto the racetrack in pretty good shape as the car is spun right ahead of him. Oh, man, what a close call for Rusty. That's the 41 car of Ted Thomas that has gone around.
Yeah, that had to give Rusty some anxious moments as he went out of there expecting a clear track, and all of a sudden the dust is up in front of him in a car right there.
All he could see was dust coming out of the pits and hoping there wasn't anything ahead that he was going to run into.
And the worst part was that he had to pull out in the racing groove to pull around that car. If someone had been coming along at speed, he'd have no choice but to run over Rusty Wallace.
So Thomas is stopped down there at the pit exit.
He's taking the window net down, so the car obviously will not start. This will probably bring out the caution flag.
Well, Morgan Shepherd coming into the pits right now in the Valvoline Pontiac, and apparently the caution still is not coming out. Let's go to Dr. Jerry Punch.
There will be a 4-tire change for the Valvoline Pontiac of Morgan Shepherd. Gentlemen, likewise, they were a little bit concerned, just like the Rusty Wallace crew, if they could make it the rest of the way on fuel. Now, Morgan actually needed to run about 2 more laps for them to feel very comfortable, but he couldn't afford to lose any more ground on the racetrack. So he opted to come in this time in pit. Left side tires have already gone on the car. Now right side, right front, and right rear are on the car. The jack is under the car. They're just finishing fueling the car, and they will roll the dice just like Rusty Wallace and see if they can make it the rest of the way. He's down and away. Let's go up pit road where Jack Arun is standing by with Richard Childress.
Jack? Well, Jerry, remember at the last stop, Richard Childress and the team were stopped for a 15-second penalty. Dale Earnhardt was brought in. He made a good, smart move, but then you had an animated conversation with NASCAR. You pleaded your case, and it seems that you won.
Oh, I
can't talk. That's pretty obvious. He was listening to Dale Earnhardt. He watched Earnhardt come by. Now, let's see if we can try it one more time.
They've got in trouble over the answers, so I had to tell him don't. What was the question?
Well, you had a pretty animated conversation. Boy, you keep your poise pretty well here. With NASCAR, about that 15-second penalty, it's almost like they wanted to keep you a little longer, but things worked out all right.
Yeah, they were holding us for running through the chicane, Jack.
Well, there's an 88 car's off, and I know you've got to go to work. The 38 car. Johnson is off, full course yellow, gentlemen.
Yeah, he's up against the guardrail in the S's, and so indeed a full course caution does come out. There is Terry Labonte moving into the pits. He is the leader, or was leader, of the race, and Jack will throw it back to you to call Terry stop.
Well, Tim Brewer and the crew let Shorty Edwards with the pit board bring Terry Labonte to a stop. He hits the marks nicely. They put the gas can in. They go to left side tires, cleaning the windshield, taking a quick cold drink. In the meantime, one crewman is changing the right side lug nuts so that the tire changers can come around. They do. They get under the car. They bring the jack up. Mike Hill pulls the left tire off, the right tire off, and Rusty Wallace is on pit road as well. Rusty has completed his work, and he's off and away. Labonte with a congested pit work here as Ricky Rudd and the rest of the crews are at work here. Let's check in with Jerry Punch.
Well, the defending champion of the Budweiser At The Glen gets his service. Ricky Rudd, the Quaker State Buick up pit road. They have already changed the left side tires, cleaning the windshield. They sling the right side tires back across the wall. Larry McReynolds checking with the crew, watching for the safety car, watching the congestion on pit road. Rudd is down the way. Let's go back to Jack Arun.
Jerry, believe it or not, the congestion has forced Dale Earnhardt to pit in Terry Labonte's pit. The team has gone to work. They were bunched up. He's moved approximately 18 feet beyond his own pit, and they're going to work, and it's a long run to exchange tires. They're completing their work as Kenny Schrader goes by Dale Earnhardt. He lights the tires up, and he's off and away.
Wow, there is just unbelievable congestion down there in the pits when several come in. There goes Earnhardt back out on the racetrack as the 41 car of Thomas is still at the exit of the pit road.
We noticed that Rusty Wallace, we saw him come in while Terry Labonte was in the pits. He only took on fuel. They didn't want to gamble. You know, he came in, they thought that they had run far enough under the green to go the rest of the way, but why gamble when you got a caution flag opportunity to come in, take the fuel on, get back out, still got himself some good track position.
Now, we're going to take a look at why we are under a full course caution. One reason, of course, because of the 41 car, but also because of Dick Johnson's problem.
Looks like the right front tire went down on that car as he came out of one of the S turns there and hit the wall, and then he goes down on the inside of the track once again.
Well, he hit the wall hard. Now, here is Rusty coming out of the pits, and look what happens just ahead of him.
Ooh. And as Benny said, he had to go right out in the racing groove when he saw that car spinning. Let's watch him again as he comes out from a different angle, and that car already spinning. He couldn't see anything for the dust, but he made a good move and got on through.
So we have two instances around the racetrack here. They're trying to get this car started, push started, and Dick Johnson are trying to clean his car up where it's sitting up against the guardrail.
Well, we understand that the starter, something has gone wrong with it on the Ted Thomas car, so now they got it running, and he's going again. He just couldn't get it cranked.
Well, we're set up here for an exciting finish once again, but when you talk about finishes, you got to remember last year's Budweiser at the Glen here at Watkins Glen. It's one that will long be remembered, the subject of this week's Winston Cup replay. Winston Cup replays are brought to you by the First Name and Filters Purelator, exceptional protection for exceptional vehicles like yours. Last year, the Budweiser at the Glen, Jeff Bodine wins the pole with a record lap, starting alongside Rusty Wallace, who has won the last 3 Winston Cup road races. Bodine is slightly off course in turn number 7, and here comes Terry Labonte moving to second position. On the track's high-speed straightaway, Bodine shreds a tire and breaks the steering. He pulls off the course, but will later rejoin and finish the race. Ricky Rudd, Winston Cup's other road racing expert, finds himself in a position to challenge Wallace, slipping by Dale Earnhardt. Lap 73, and Ken Schrader is leading, but having a dice with teammate Darrell Waltrip. Schrader has a tire go down, and Waltrip takes off. It then becomes a race between Rudd and Waltrip until a big puff of smoke signals an end to Waltrip's chances of winning. Down now to a shootout between Rudd and Wallace.
Using the racetrack to his advantage, he's going to slow it down.
They bump. Here they come off the 7th corner. Who's going to win it? They're side by side. Rusty is well off the track. He cannot win it, and Ricky Rudd does. Unbelievable. That was 1 year ago here at the Budweiser at the Glen. Stay with us. We undoubtedly will have a finish that will equal that one in just about an hour's time. Back at Watkins Glen, New York, the number 38 car of Dick Johnson is against the guardrail, and we're trying to determine whether or not Dick is out of the car. I don't believe he is. That may be him just crawling out of the car at the moment. Here's what happened as he moved up through the S's.
It looked like the right front tire went down, or even the steering gave away on the car because it just veered straight into the guardrail. Then he bounced back on the other side of the track, and here he comes back down to the inside once again.
A couple of very hard hits for the Australian touring car champion, Dick Johnson. And so the ambulance is at the scene of that car, and they'll be checking him over to determine what injuries he has. In the meantime, we are under a full course caution once again. This certainly has been the most serious incident of the day.
It looks to me like he's sitting up on the stretcher there, and I would say that he's probably injured his feet. Yeah, if he has any kind of problem.
There isn't a real effort to get him medical attention, so I think he may be in pretty good shape. Well, let's go down to Jack Arute and straighten out this Dale Earnhardt situation. And Jack, will let you recap what has happened and what the situation is at the moment.
Bob, the way things happen, thank heavens for a caution, because now we can explain it with the luxury of the caution flag out. Remember, Dale Earnhardt came onto pit road, and he was penalized
15 seconds. The reason he brought his car into pit road is he had a minor ignition problem, and they needed to change the ignition wires inside the car. They elected to change tires as well, fill it up with fuel. Well, NASCAR, as you saw on the replay, because he came across the cones, they elected to impose a 15-second penalty. Well, the car was stalled. They had to push start it to get it going again. They felt that they were going to take more than 15 seconds to do that. Everything got fired, underway again. During this caution period, he came in to take one additional stop, but according to Richard Childress, everything is fine. They've been assessed the penalty. They've taken it. They're back and ready to go racing back to the front.
So, Jack, something happened to ignition as he came off of turn 7? And
exactly, Ned. And he had enough wherewithal to know that it'd be better to take that 15-second penalty than to try and limp all the way around. So that's exactly what he did.
So he just cut her across the pylons and down on pit road. Good, smart thinking.
Yeah, it really was.
Because if he'd gone another 20 feet, he couldn't have gotten to pits.
So that's the situation then with the Dale Earnhardt situation. Now, there is Dick Johnson. You can see him sitting up, and he appears to be in pretty good shape and will be taken into the infield medical center for a checkup.
There was a splint on his left leg. They did have a splint on his left leg. So obviously there has been, at least he's injured his leg somehow.
So the field remains under caution here at Watkins Glen. That's Morgan Shepherd right behind the pace car, followed by Rusty Wallace, Terry Labonte, Bobby Hillin, and Michael Waltrip. We're in the Finger Lakes region of New York at Watkins Glen, and we'll be back right after this.
People think I'm the quiet one. It's just that Xerox antifreeze coolant appeals to my calm, cool demeanor. It protects my engine in extreme cold, down to 84 below. Now, I'm sure if Rusty could, he'd go on and on about how Xerox protects in extreme heat, up to 276 degrees. But he graciously suggested I do this spot alone. Right, Rusty?
Xerox antifreeze coolant, because extreme conditions demand extreme protection.
Under a full course caution here at Watkins Glen International Raceway because of a crash involving Dick Johnson. The leader is Morgan Shepherd. He's led 12 of the 60 laps. The average speed, 94.274. This courtesy, of course, of our Napa race summary. We've had 7 leaders, 10 lead changes, 4 cautions for a total of 12 laps, and 24 cars are on the lead lap. By the way, last year, an all-time record for cars on the lead lap in a Winston Cup race. 22 were on record pace again for that statistic. Now, the lap leaders have been Morgan Shepherd, Ken Schrader, Bobby Hillin, Ricky Rudd, Dale Earnhardt, and Rusty Wallace and Terry Labonte. Those who have dropped out of competition, Derek Cope, Alan Kowicki out very early with an engine problem. Eddie Bierschwale dropped out in the number 83 car. A.J. Foyt, Neil Bonnet also behind the wall. And J.D. McDuffie, Jimmy Means, Dick Trickle, and the most recent car to drop out of competition was Dick Johnson, the number 38 machine. He had some contact with the wall over in the S's. We're standing by for a medical update on that. He may have a leg injury. So the field in single file formation behind the pace car, as we are seeing Morgan Shepherd in the lead. And remember, Morgan, if he will win this race, will take home $121,600 in bonus money from Unocal. So he's got a lot of pot of gold at the end of this rainbow. ESPN Speed World today at Watkins Glen International Raceway in New York for Winston Cup competition. And we are under a full course caution. Well, Benny was mysteriously missing from dinner last night. He can explain where he was in this week's Hat of the Week presentation.
Hey, folks, you know the Hat of the Week deal? Some guy sends me this crazy-looking hat, and he sends me a check for $100. So I start looking for a racetrack that's going to have a celebrity auction in connection with the race. And Watkins Glen, that's the place. The New York State Elks Drug Awareness Association is having an auction trying to raise some money. Let's go see if this guy can buy this hat for $100. Well, this is the Hat of the Week for Watkins Glen. So with no further ado, how much am I bid for the hat? $5. $5. We got $5. $20. $25 I got. $25, is that all? $40. Thank you very much, sir. $40 back there. 50 bucks right here. $50. $60 here. Thank you very much, ma'am. $70 right back here. Thank you very much. $70. $80 right here. Thank you very much, ma'am. $90. Thank you, sir, for your bid. $90. $95. $100 right here. Let's give this man a round of applause. $100. Now, who are you?
Andy Kane from Rochester, New York.
That name sounds familiar, doesn't it?
I believe so, Benny, because I sent you the hat.
That's right, folks. This is the fellow that sent the hat, and he sent a check for $100. So, Andy, thanks very much.
Thank you, Benny.
Yes, sir.
Glad to help you out.
And the New York State Elks Drug Awareness Association, we understand, raised over $500 total at that auction.
Boy, that was some hand.
And an auctioneer you ain't, buddy, I tell you what. All right, still waiting for the green flag to fall once again. Again, we are cautioned because of an accident over in the S's involving Dick Johnson. It's taken quite a while to get that car off the racetrack, and Dick, of course, was placed in the ambulance and taken to the infield hospital for a checkup, but I believe we're going to be going green this time.
Yeah, the lights are out on the pace car. You can see Rusty Wallace getting his tires warmed up now. Morgan Shepherd, who's the leader of this race in the Valvoline Pontiac, and boy, does he, as you mentioned a moment ago, lots of money up at stake if he can stay out there, but we're about ready to go green.
I tell you, fellow, that need this caution flag, Terry Labonte, they reported from the pit, said his brakes were overheating. Well, he's had the luxury of riding around at slow speed for all these laps, and I'm sure that his brakes are back up to speed now. So, Terry Labonte, what a break. Green flag is out. Let's see who wins the race down to turn 1.
Labonte pulls out to the left of your screen. Look at the 4 and 5 abreast action here as they head for turn number 1. Labonte has second position, Wallace in third, and Michael Waltrip and Jeff Bodine go through turn number 1 side by side. Everything's all right, however, and now they get into single file formation.
What kind of restart did Labonte get? Has he got a jet engine in that thing? Wow, he passed on the restart. He was able to get by Rusty Wallace.
Looking out Jeff Bodine's back glass at Ricky Rudd, who is in 7th, and certainly not out of this race. He has not been up front a whole lot today, but is certainly not out. There's Shepherd leading Labonte, Wallace, and Bobby Hillen. Boy, what a great run he's having today.
Look, Bobby Hillen looked on the inside of Rusty Wallace right on his bumper as he exit turn 5. You're right, Hillen, a great run going that Miller Highlight Buick.
Now, Morgan Shepherd has never won a Winston Cup road race, but he did win at Road Atlanta a couple years ago in the Busch Grand National Series, so Victor Lane would not be new to him in road racing.
There is Rudd right behind Michael Waltrip as they come down and complete lap number 62. We understand the 88 car of Jimmy Spencer is being penalized for jumping the start. Here's Rudd making a move to the inside of Michael Waltrip, and Rick Wilson is also trying to take away this spot, cannot, but Ricky Rudd does move to, what, 6th? Yeah. Morgan Shepherd leads the Budweiser at the Glen.
I wonder if Morgan, when he looks in the rearview mirror, if he sees Labonte or he sees $121,000, and that's what he can win if he can just keep him in that rearview mirror.
Boy, this would be the largest payoff at a road race in U.S. history, I believe, if the Unical money does go to Morgan Shepherd. And Rick Wilson and Bill Elliott.
Here they are going at Wilson down on the inside. Elliott had a lot of troubles, but he stayed on the lead lap. But I don't think that car's been working quite as well today as we've seen Bill Elliott in the past on road courses. However, he does hold Rick Wilson off there.
He's had all kinds of trouble. First time the accelerator hanging, and then he had some kind of brake problem. They had to throw ice on the brakes to get those things cooled off. And meanwhile, back at the front, these 4 cars still bumper to bumper for the lead, almost bumper to bumper anyway.
Mark Martin pulls out. Here comes Wallace trying to take over 2nd. Indeed he does, and Ricky Rudd also picks up a position as he passes Jeff Bodine. So now it is Wallace 2nd and Ricky Rudd 5th.
The Rudd's car seems to be going now like he was going at the first part of the race.
Seems to be better than he was a few laps ago. Maybe these fellas made an adjustment on that last pit stop.
Probably did, and maybe he has a set of tires that are a little better match for him or something of that nature, and got him back in the thick of it.
Boy, you got to give a call to Bobby Hill, and look at his serial. He started in 9th, worked his way to 3rd, dropped all the way back to 20th at the end of 30 laps, but he has moved to 6th at the end of 50, and now at 65 he is 4th and is trying to take over 3rd position from Terry Labonte. But he sees Ricky Rudd in his rearview mirror.
And Rusty Wallace was able to get by. And Rusty Wallace, something happened to his car.
Something is wrong with Rusty. He's coming into the pits. He's positioning himself to the inside of the racetrack so he can come in for a pit stop as he comes off this corner. Jack Arute, what's going on?
The action here, the crew just jumped into action as Rusty Wallace radioed in that he has a flat. Harold Elliott with the crew board, signaling where their pits are. They are poised and ready for the appearance of Rusty Wallace. A tough break for Wallace. Wallace comes to a stop. He is livid about the flat being on the right side, not on the left side. He was pointing animatedly there. And now they're electing to change all 4 tires. They have finished the exchange on the left, and they will go to where the offending right side flat tire remains. Jimmy Makar pulls it off, puts the brand new Goodyear Eagle on. They tighten the lug nuts. The work has been completed on the rear. They drop the jack, and he is off and away in 21.9 seconds, gentlemen.
Yeah, they could have got away with the 2-tire change if they had known where the flat tire was. It was the right front. You could see it when he came in, but they had already committed themselves on the left side, so they had to go ahead and make a 4-tire change.
Tough break for Rusty.
Yeah, I'll tell you, he's so far behind now. If there's not another caution, he's going to have a tough time getting back up there. He'll pass some cars that are still on the lead lap, but it'll be tough for him to get back to the front.
You know, we see the clock there at 21.9 seconds, but that really doesn't tell the story because there's a lot of acceleration and de-acceleration time.
Well, especially the deceleration time in this particular case, because he had to slow down way back up there in turn 6 to get himself down on the inside of the racetrack and get into the pits with that flat tire.
Morgan Shepherd leads. Here comes 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and Rudd now is alongside Bobby Hillen, and Rudd gets him. Rudd moves to 3rd.
Looks like Ricky Rudd is the man on the mission now. Gets by Bobby Hillen, sets his eyes on Labonte, and up in front of Labonte, the leader of this race, Morgan Shepherd.
Shepherd with quite an advantage over Terry Labonte and the others, so Morgan Shepherd is looking very, very good here in his effort to win the Unocal bonus money amounting to $121,600 in addition to the money for actually winning the Budweiser at the Glen. We'll be right back. The day appears to be over for Ricky Rudd. Just seconds ago, a huge puff of smoke from the Quaker State Buick. The yellow came out, and Ricky Rudd moves into the pit area. Tough break for the guy who was charging to the front. Now we have both Rudd and Wallace in trouble here in the last few laps, and a lot of action once again on pit road.
And a tough break for Ricky Rudd, but a good break for Rusty Wallace, who had made that unscheduled pit stop. Now he gets to catch up to the field.
And Rusty Wallace may stay on the racetrack.
Probably will.
He probably will choose to stay on the racetrack and not pit at all. He may be the leader of this race when they go back to green.
A lot of action as cars pull back onto the racetrack. Here comes Sterling Marlin. Davey Allison has to back his Haviland Ford up to get around Ricky Rudd. Jim Sauter back there in the number 44 car moves back onto the track, but Ricky Rudd's problems appear to be terminal.
Yeah, we saw some flame underneath the car as he was trying to get in. That means if he has a hole someplace, oil is seeping out on the exhaust system and catching on fire. Tough break for Ricky.
Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, a lot of smoke and debris down here. Rudd is trying to get the car refired. It will not refire. They will push the car back behind the wall. And Ricky Rudd in the car, very dejected, very disappointed. They put the Quaker State car back toward the garage area.
Rudd, when won at Sonoma earlier this year on the road course, was going for 3 consecutive road course wins, but it will not happen this afternoon.
Keep looking for Rusty Wallace in this. Oh,
looks like we may have had a crew member hurt, possibly on the Tide crew.
Or the Folgers crew. It's right between the two.
Now, Ken Schrader had just come in for an unscheduled pit stop during the green just before this caution came out. He had a tire shredded on the Folger Chevrolet, but he should have remained in the lead lap.
Looks like it's a member of the Tide crew. Let's go down to Jackaroo.
Tony Casanova is the tire carrier for the Tide crew. He was carrying tires around for service on Darrell Waltrip's car. As he was running back around, he was hit by another car. They brought him back over the wall here. The medics are assisting him right as we speak, and they will most likely transfer him to the Infield Care Center for further observation and for administration. Let's check in with Jerry Punch, who was with Ricky Rudd. Jerry?
Now, Ricky Rudd's still sitting inside the Quaker State Buick, and Ricky, looked like you really might have had him covered. You were making your way to the front, but then it all went away. What finally happened?
Well, Jerry, the car really run good. You know, we sort of, at the beginning of the race, we took control, and then we sort of got caught out of sync on the pit stop, so I didn't get into pits early enough, and we got out of sync. But I felt like we had the strongest car. I had to come through the traffic, and it was really just starting to run hard there at the end, and something happened to the motor. It broke a piston or something happened. I'm not really sure what it was.
Ricky, you've been gauging the competition all day. You've been running out in the field, trying to determine maybe who maybe had a little extra toward the end. With you out of it, who's the strong horse out there? Can anyone run with Morgan?
You know, Morgan was pretty strong. Trouble, you know, that we had is getting through traffic to get to him. I felt like, you know, we definitely could have given him an awful good race, or, you know, they're calling our lap times off. We were quicker than him, but the trouble was just getting up there to him to race him. But it's really hard to say. Some guys take off on the break and run quick. There's some fast guys that are still hung back in the pack that are having trouble, and if they can get track position, it's anybody's race.
Ricky Rudd will exit here at the Budweiser at the Glen. The Quaker State Buick gave it a whale of a run, but it will all come up short here as he heads for the garage area.
He also exits this team at the end of this year and announced just a couple of days ago that he will be driving for Rick Hendrick in 1990 in the number 5 car that will be vacated by Jeff Bodine. 70 laps have been completed, 20 more to go here at the Budweiser at the Glen, and we'll be back with more after these messages. Stay with us. Road right now is for the most part vacant, but we had a flurry of activity just moments ago. We talked about it being dangerous for drivers. It's also dangerous for crew members. Watch closely. Dale Earnhardt pulls in and strikes one of the tire men for the Tide crew, and it sends the tires and Tony Casanova flying. Let's go down to Jackaroo for an update.
Well, they are presently making ready to transfer Tony Casanova to a gurney and take him in the ambulance to the Infield Care Center. Our own Dr. Jerry Punch is over there right now checking him over. He has been conscious. He has been conscious. He is moving. They're putting a backboard underneath him at the present time. Casanova is a parts manager for City Chevrolet in Charlotte, North Carolina, was carrying the tires for Darrell Waltrip's Tide ride this afternoon, and they are presently getting ready to move him to the ambulance. Let's check in with Jerry Punch. Maybe he can update us on what the situation is, Jerry.
Well, I was just down here talking with Tony a little bit, and I felt around. Apparently, he was struck in the left rib cage area in the back around the kidney. He's awake and alert, and I talked to him, palpated out. You know, if anything of consequence, it might be possibly a rib injury on the left side, but more than likely an injury or bruising to the kidney on the back, on the left back. But he is awake and alert. It could have been a lot worse. He will be taken to the Infield Care Center, probably disposed of here, taken to an Infield hospital, a nearby hospital for x-rays. But fortunately, he's awake and alert, and it could have been much more serious. Gentlemen?
All right, thank you for the report, Jerry, and I'm sure that Tony and the members of the Tide crew thank you for your medical assistance down there in that emergency situation. We can see that the lights are off on the pace car, so we can be going back to green here in just a couple of seconds. Now, look who's out in front. It's Michael Waltrip. Second is Rick Wilson. Third is Tom Kendall. Fourth is Richard Petty, and there is Michael Waltrip, serial 20th, 11th to 4th, and now on lap number 71 to 1st. So Michael Waltrip of the Country Time Pontiac, who won a Busch Grand National race last Saturday night in Indianapolis Raceway Park, leads him down for the green flag.
Boy, we'll see a scramble now as they head into turn 1. Look at there, they're trying to go 3 wide.
That's Kendall in the black car, the Rick Hendrick machine, taking second, and I thought maybe he was going to make a bid for the lead, but he did not. Tom Kendall runs in second behind Michael Waltrip. Now remember, Rusty Wallace gained a terrific advantage during this situation, this caution period that we just came off of. And so he is right back up there in the thick of things, and he is, I believe, fifth going to the inside of Brett Bodine.
He chose not to pit. Look, he's on the inside of Rick Wilson trying to take that spot away. As Wilson gets pushed out to the side.
I think he's got a problem.
It looks like he does. Looks like Rick does have a problem, but Rusty Wallace chose not to pit. All the people went in the pit. He's in front of the whole entire bunch.
And look at him moving up. Woo. And there's Morgan Shepherd, who's threading his way through the traffic, looking for that $121,600 bonus money.
And Bill Elliott riding the stick of this thing, too. Bill is running strong. Right behind the car number 11 of Terry Labonte.
And Jeff Bodine, from inside his car, moves alongside Mark Martin in the Stroline 4, number 6. Whoa, and Morgan Shepherd is into the wall. Morgan Shepherd loses it and slides into the wall.
Oh, boy, there goes that $121,600.
Yep, and he's going to get back onto the racetrack, not giving up. Boy, tough break for Morgan Shepherd.
But I'd say that did kill his chances of winning the race. What a tough break.
Let's see if he goes in the pits. No, he stays on the racetrack.
Going to stay out there. Obviously did some body damage to the right side of that race car as we take a look at it once again.
We see Earnhardt on the inside of Morgan Shepherd going into turn 6. I don't know if there's any kind of...
Nope.
Yep, there was some contact there, too.
Just when Morgan started to turn into the corner, Earnhardt was there. The wheels touched. Morgan's left front touched. Looked like the right rear of Earnhardt's car, and away Morgan went.
We mentioned that something might be wrong with Rick Wilson's car. He indeed has come into the pits in the Kodak Film Oldsmobile car number 4, and Richard Petty as well has come in the FTP Pontiac for a change of 4 tires on his car.
So there you see Morgan Shepherd able to drive through the grass and get back onto the racetrack, but there he is behind Stan Barrett, and boy, his chances now of winning that bonus money are pretty much down the tubes.
So that Unical bonus money now, $121,600, goes up another $7,600 next week in Michigan, and we'll be there to talk about it.
That's exactly right, on the high banks of Michigan International Speedway. A week from today, as Winston Cup competition continues here on ESPN. There's Tom Kendall trying to take the lead away from Michael Waltrip and is unable to. And Rusty Wallace is back there in third.
I tell you, Michael Waltrip doing a good job of staying up front.
You see some smoke from that 18
Yeah,
car?
I did see some car from that black car, but don't you know that Margaret Waltrip is sure glad she was home today to watch Michael leading this race?
Well, Michael with an outstanding performance last Saturday night at Indianapolis Raceway Park, where he won the Busch Grand National race. By the way, the Busch Grand National race last night was won by Robert Presley. And now Michael finds himself in the lead here at Watkins Glen.
You know who owns Robert Presley's car?
Brad Doherty.
Brad Doherty, the center for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, Brad, if you're watching today, congratulations on a super victory.
We met him in Daytona at the Grand National race in Volusia County, and what a wonderful person he is.
Oh, he really is.
Really a race fan.
Yes, he is. Great athlete and a great race fan.
So it's Michael Waltrip who leads, Tom Kendall running in second, and Rusty Wallace third as we are live at the Budweiser at the Glen. Jenkins, Ned Jarrett, Benny Parsons, Jack Arute, and Jerry Punch back at the Budweiser at the Glen, and you'll notice that Michael Waltrip is missing. The leader is now Tom Kendall in car number 18, but he has got Rusty Wallace breathing down his exhaust pipe as they head down the main straightaway. Rusty is going to pull out and attempt to go into the lead. He's going to do it rather easily. Into turn 1, Rusty Wallace is the leader. Now, we'll show you what happened to Michael Waltrip. He was leading the race. Kendall moved to the inside, and here's what happened.
And they touched as they went into the turn. Michael hanging on right on the outside. They still were together a little bit, and he just lost control, and around he went.
Kendall got position on Michael going down in turn 1. Michael tried to race him, but up where Michael was, just no way in the world. Rusty Wallace said, uh-oh, that boy's going to catch me, but he didn't.
Second time that Rusty has had a close call, and now Terry Labonte is trying to take over second place from Tom Kendall.
Look at Bill Elliott right back there, too, hanging in there tight.
Bill Elliott had trouble in the early portion of this race. He was in and out of the pits, and we almost wrote him off, but not at all, as here he is in 4th position and is about to move into 3rd.
And Bill Elliott, the fellow who's the furthest up in the point stand, the Winston Cup point standings, has the best finish going for him right now. Rusty Wallace in fifth spot, Bill Elliott in fourth, so they could make some serious ground on Earnhardt today.
Here comes Elliott now moving into third, passing Tom Kendall. Let's go to Jackaroo with a comment on Tom Kendall.
So that we're not all surprised at the performance of Tom Kendall. Keep in mind, the man that is calling the shots on pit road for Tom is a fellow that's used to helping rookies through their initial years. None other than Jake Elder is calling the shots for Kendall today.
Well, Kendall has 3 victories here at Watkins Glen in 7 starts. Of course, not in Winston Cup competition, but in Firehawk races. And he is certainly no stranger to this racetrack and looking very, very impressive for Rick Hendrick here in the Winston Cup affair. So now it's Wallace and Labonte and Bill Elliott. Then comes Mark Martin, who is trying to take away the position from Tom Kendall as they race down the straightaway. Kendall has the inside, and Mark Martin has the position.
Rusty Wallace looks like he's trying to check out on Labonte and Bill Elliott. Mark Martin comes along.
Martin is now 4th, Kendall back to 5th.
Running in 6th place is Jeff Bodine. Earnhardt is 8th. Darrell Waltrip 9th. Phil Parsons in 9th. Darrell Waltrip is 8th, and Bobby Hillen in the 10th position.
Through the S's once again. Now Tom Kendall has Jeff Bodine to contend with as we look out Jeff Bodine's back class. There's Dale Earnhardt behind him. Well, coming up next here on ESPN, following our live Winston Cup race, the GTE U.S. Hardcourt Championship from Indianapolis, Indiana. It's McEnroe versus Berger, and that will be coming up live right after the conclusion of this race here on ESPN. Kendall losing positions, getting the left side tires off the car, and here comes Bodine, Earnhardt, Waltrip, and next to be Phil Parsons.
Boy, the train is going by. It's almost like if he got out of the draft to Talladega.
Now, he's really in a bad spot right now. Ooh, I don't know. Phil Parsons was trying to get alongside of him.
Once again, out the back class of Jeff Bodine's car. Looking at Dale Earnhardt.
Ooh, Earnhardt pulls right up on the back bumper, looks inside Bodine, was not able to get by.
Davey Allison has pulled up into the back of that pack of cars right there. He was back about 17th or 18th, now has moved up into 10th position, so he's beginning to move.
Bodine coming off turn 1 in first gear. Looks like he's able to put just a little bit of distance.
Oh, Kendall has spun and hit the wall. We saw it in Jeff Bodine's out his back glass. It was too far away to tell who it was, but it is Tom Kendall in car number 18.
No caution yet, but we'll see if he's able to get fired. He's backed it into the inside guardrail. The cars are able to get by on the outside, but you can see that a portion of the front end of that car number 18 sticking out on the track. Can he get it fired again? We'll have to wait and see.
And here's a replay.
Looks like it's rated a left rear tire as he came off of that turn, and it just spins him around, and that might have started happening, Benny. He might have blistered that tire when all of those cars were getting by.
And I think that you're probably exactly right, Ned, because he was slowing down dramatically from the pace that he was running just a moment ago. So
Tom Kendall won the IMSA GTU Championship in 1986, 87, and 88, has 15 victories in GTU competition, and has a great future ahead of him as a race driver. He's a young man and has a very bright future. Still no yellow from the NASCAR officials.
And I don't understand why that guy back there with the Ford sign is not waving a yellow flag.
Well, he is. The one on the inside is waving a yellow flag, but
now we do have a yellow.
No, we don't.
No.
Harold Kinder still not waved the flag. I don't know. Maybe they're waiting on the leaders to come around. I don't know.
10 laps to go.
80 laps have been completed. And there is the shredded tire that caused the problems for Kendall.
Yes, now the caution flag does come out. Harold Kinder is waving the caution flag now.
Jesse Kendall has gotten out of the race car, so he's okay, and Harold Kender slows down the field with his yellow flag.
Well, Rusty Wallace did not come into the pit, so maybe he's going to stay out there. It'd be interesting to see who does.
Neither did Terry Labonte or Bill Elliott or most of the others. So we are under caution, but few are taking advantage of the opportunity for a pit stop. Today's live coverage of the Budweiser at the Glen. NASCAR Winston Cup racing from historic Watkins Glen in upstate New York. Our Speed World coverage is being brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. By Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? By the Die Hard battery, now with more power when you need it most. And by Budweiser Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. Movie actor Tom Cruise is studying to be a race driver, or at least preparing for a role in a movie. He's been at several Winston Cup races in the last few months, and getting an overall view. He was in the truck watching a while ago, and now he's down on pit road and just soaking up as much as he can for his role in an upcoming racing movie. That, of course, was Rick Hendrick there with him. So we're under our 6th caution flag of the afternoon, and there you can see that Rusty Wallace is the leader of the race with Bill Elliott second, Terry Labonte second and Bill Elliott third, followed by Mark Martin and Jeff Bodine.
This will be a break for Morgan Shepherd, who had went off the track. He never made a pit stop after he got into the guardrail, after he and Dale Earnhardt got together a little bit, so he it'll give him a chance to catch back up. Currently, he's being shown in 14th position. There are 21 cars on the lead lap still here at the Glen.
And that is one less than the record that was set here last year of 22, finishing on the lead lap, a NASCAR record. We'll take another break and be right back with more of our live coverage. ESPN Speed World today at Watkins Glen International Raceway, Watkins Glen, New York. And there's a big Diamond Vision screen up here at Watkins Glen, providing the fans an opportunity to see what happens in other portions of the racetrack. And that's what you're watching right now, our coverage, which is being used on the Diamond Vision screens. Well, still under caution here, trying to get Tom Kendall's car off the track. We can update you on the condition of Dick Johnson, the driver of car number 38, who had an incident with the wall a few laps back. The report is from the infield medical center that he has a dislocated knee, so nothing real serious for Dick.
Well, thank goodness it's not too serious. We mentioned that there are 21 cars on the lead lap, Bob. Of course, Rusty Wallace is leading, Terry Labonte running second, Bill Elliott third, fourth is Mark Martin, fifth is Jeff Bodine, sixth Dale Earnhardt, seventh Darrell Waltrip, Davey Allison now up to eighth, Bill Parsons ninth, Bobby Hill in 10th, Dale Jarrett 11th, and in 12th place Jim Salter, 13th rookie driver Larry Pearson, 14th Morgan Shepherd, 15th the car number 40 of
Darren Brassfield.
Yeah, Darren Brassfield. Darren's not a regular on the circuit. Harry Gant was running 16th. Michael Waltrip, after his spin down there, had gotten back to 17th. Rick Wilson, after a pit stop, was running 18th. 19th is Kenny Schrader. 20th, after a pit stop, is Sterling Marlin. And 21st, the car number 15 of Brent Bodine, who also has made a pit stop during this caution period.
All right, we're going to try to talk to Rusty Wallace here via the radio. Rusty, this is Bob Jenkins. You got a copy?
Okay.
Rusty, it's Bob Jenkins. You got a copy? Well, we heard him for a second. Having a little bit of trouble hearing you, Rusty. Can you hear me?
Okay, Mark, there's going to be 6 to go, and they throw the green.
Well, I think we hear somebody from the crew, but we don't hear Rusty. Well, we'll let Rusty alone because he's going to be going back to green here in less than a lap anyway.
You know, the deal was you sounded a little bit confused, and Rusty was telling you, Bob, there's 6 laps to go to green.
Yeah, that's what I was checking on. There will be 6 to go when we go back to green. Is that correct? No, okay.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, Bob, since you can't talk to Rusty, we're going to send Jack Root down to talk to Barry Dodson. Is that a fair deal?
That's the second best thing.
Okay. Jack Root, see if you can find Barry Dodson and talk to him, will you?
Well, he's standing right next to me, Benny. You don't think I'd be too far away from where the action is. Barry, you were saying to Rusty on the radio during this caution, nothing ever comes easy for this crew. You didn't want this caution, did you?
No, you know, when we need one, it seems like we can't get it, and then we talked about staying out because of the single-file restart. You got 23 cars lead lap, and unless you got a bad problem, it's just not smart to come in. So we stayed out gambling. I hope it's the right move.
Now, early on, you opened up the car. You get it from pushing a little bit, and you made some major adjustments. Have you done anything in the last couple of stops?
Yeah, we just put tires on it. They've been good and consistent all day. Goodyear's got a very good tire, and we just told Rusty to get after it.
Well, Jerry Punch, you're with another guy that calls the shots for a good-time winner, and that's Terry Labonte. Let's go to Jerry.
Well, the team that's had the momentum the past couple of weeks has been the Budweiser team of Terry Labonte. They're all watching Labonte come by. We're with Tim Brewer, and Tim is waiting to give Labonte the signal for the green flag. Do you see Tim looking up pit road? What he is doing is watching Harold Kinder. As soon as Kinder pulls out that green flag, he will tell Labonte via that radio. He has his left hand up on that radio button to tell Labonte to go. They're hoping maybe they can get a little bit of a jump on Rusty Wallace. We will not disturb Tim right now, but Tim leading this team. He is like the middle linebacker in the huddle of the defense. He is the motivator for the Budweiser team. He is totally in charge, and he thinks, he told me a minute ago, that Labonte has what it takes to put the Budweiser car in victory lane for the Bud at the Glen. We'll have to wait and see just a few laps from now.
And Morgan Shepherd was the pole sitter, but here is the real pole sitter. This guy has somehow managed to get up this very high pole and is perched atop some loudspeakers here on the main straightaway.
Yeah, he's close to the main straightaway there, too.
I hope he doesn't fall off. Let's take a look at the top 20 now as we're about to go back to green, and we will with 6 laps to go. Wallace, Labonte, Elliott, Martin, and Bodine. 6 through 10, Earnhardt, Darrell, Davey, Phil, and Bobby Hillen. Then running in 11th is Dale Jarrett, 12th Jim Sauter, 13th is Larry Pearson, 14th Morgan Shepherd, and 15th is Darren Brassfield. Labonte has won 2 of the last 5 Winston Cup races as we take a look at 16 through 20. And also yesterday here at Watkins Glen, Terry Labonte became the IROC champion for 1989. Now we're going to watch the restart here, and we'll see who gets a jump and who gets the best advantage as they head for the green flag. Here it is. The green is out. Bill Elliott dives to the inside of the track. He is making a pit stop as the rest of the field comes down for the green flag. And look at Dale Earnhardt to the inside of the track. He and Mark Martin bump going into turn number 1, and Dale Earnhardt falls back clear to 5th position. I don't think that's exactly what he wanted.
That's not what he had in mind. There's Jim Sauter got off the track there momentarily, but he got her back under control.
Let's go to Jerry Punch in Bill Elliott's pit.
They had to actually try to physically stop the Elliott car. He has no brakes, and now they have a fire inside the engine compartment. They are trying to get the fire put out. They have brake fluid there. They are going to pour some brake fluid, and now it flames up again. It's the crew now trying to work down there. Mike Brandt, Ernie Elliott, the rest of the crew trying to put brake fluid in that master cylinder to give Bill some brake for these final few laps. You see the cars winding their way through the course. Bill Elliott getting left far behind here with a few laps to go.
Terry Labonte, something evidently is wrong with that car. He's went back to about 5th or 6th place.
Yeah, he's dropped back quite a bit here in just 1 lap, but he looks like he's running pretty good right now. Look at Davey Allison coming up through there on the inside of Darrell Waltrip.
We saw smoke out of one of those cars.
It looked like the Dale Earnhardt Chevrolet car number 3. We'll see if we see it again.
Labonte is falling back. Let's see if he comes in. Now he's going to stay out there, but that thing is not working right. Labonte has a problem with the number 11 Budweiser car. Mark Martin is in 2nd. Jeff Bodine is in 3rd. Earnhardt is in 4th. The scramble for position behind that, that's Davey Allison, Darrell Waltrip, and Terry Labonte.
And Dale Jarrett moving on the inside of Phil Parsons going into that turn. Apparently Phil has some sort of a problem as well.
By the way, there are 22 cars on the lead lap. That ties the record. While we were in caution, Richard Petty got back on the lead lap, and so 22 cars are on the lead lap, as there is Dale Jarrett passing Terry Labonte.
Labonte looks like he's obviously on 7 cylinders or some severe problem, just not able to keep up at all.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. He has lots of cylinder. We saw some smoke come from his car, and you can see the cars coming up behind it. There's Phil Parsons trying to move around him, but here he gets into the turn first. Back there's Morgan Shepherd now coming back into the picture.
I think maybe Phil's on 7 cylinders as well, because he was not able to get by Labonte's car, even as slow as Terry was running.
Bill Elliott has gone back out on the racetrack. He is out there running, but certainly out of contention for the win here at the Budweiser Glen today.
Well, 2 of the major Ford contenders have dropped back here in the last few laps. And now let's take a look at what happened to Terry Labonte just a few minutes ago.
He's coming off turn 4, starting down the long back straightaway. And look, Davey Allison literally goes in the grass. We see all the cars going by on the outside of Labonte. There goes Mark Martin in the blue car, Jeff Bodine in the yellow car, Dale Earnhardt in the black car. Here comes Davey Allison on the outside of Darrell Walter.
And here is the incident with Dale Earnhardt on the restart as he bumped with Mark Martin.
Yeah, they got together there pretty good. Mark held his ground there, though, and he cost Dale a couple of positions.
You wonder how in the world that Mark Martin could be hit that hard and not blister a tire or even make a tire go flat. But evidently he's not, because he's still staying out there in 2nd place.
As a matter of fact, he is in 2nd position, and he now carries the banner for Ford. They have won 5 races in a row in Winston Cup competition, looking for win number 6. But at the moment, it is Rusty Wallace's Pontiac that shows the way. There's 3rd and 4th, Bodine and Dale Earnhardt.
This is the promoter's dream.
Oh, and Bodine. Tire smoke? What was it?
I don't know. I believe he blew something because he went out of the way. I don't know. Maybe it was a brake problem or something. Let's see. Well, they're bunching up as he, well, it looks like he's still running pretty good. I don't know.
I don't see smoke at all. Maybe he just got the car sideways, and what we saw was tire smoke. We'll see. Earnhardt's on the inside, has position. They're going to try to race through there.
Earnhardt cannot take 3rd position away from Jeff Bodine. Not yet, at least. And apparently it was just a situation where Bodine locked up the brakes and caused the smoke.
That's probably exactly what happened. Danny Lakoff, one of our spotters, brought that up, and he's probably that's exactly what happened. Bodine got in the corner too hard, locked the brakes up, and that's where the smoke came from.
Dale Jarrett, who was running in 8th place, taking the Hardee's Pontiac into the garage area. Apparently something has happened to his car. He was headed for one of his best finishes of 1989. Was running in 8th place and now into the garage area.
Not great for Dale Jarrett, who is behind the wall and back in the garage area. Looking out the back class of Jeff Bodine at Dale Earnhardt in the battle for 3rd position. Mark Martin is just ahead of this group, and ahead of Mark Martin in the lead is Rusty Wallace as we have less than 3 laps to go in the Budweiser at the Glen.
Earnhardt still looking right on the bumper of Bodine, trying some way, somehow get by Jeff. He's going to try it down the front straightaway. Let's see. Has he got enough?
He'll have to outbrake him if he does.
Cannot do it now. Well, we talked to several drivers before we went into this race about the last lap strategy. What do you do in the last quarter?
Usually a guy that's leading a race at that point, with 1 lap to go, is awful good, and he's not going to give you an opportunity to get him. You know, it's very doubtful. You know, a guy that is capable of leading a race that late in a race is awful good, and he crosses the T's and dots the I's, you know what I mean?
I just want to be close enough where we can get to them, where you can race them. If I'm close enough where I can race them, I think I can get by them.
Usually when it comes down to the end like that, usually it's awful tough to pass.
Well, Jeff Bodine has crashed hard. You saw the tire shred on the car, and he has hard into the tire barrier and the retaining wall.
Not only, and we see Jeff, oh, thank God, he is moving around. Yes, Jeff. But not only did the tire disintegrate, it also blew the brakes. He had no brakes at all trying to get in that corner, it looked to me like.
He is unbuckling himself. He's taking off the steering wheel. He is trying to get out of the car, and that is so good to see as the white flag comes out. Bodine hard into that tire barrier and into the guardrail. 1 more lap to go. There you can see that Jeff is out of the car, and the corner workers are signaling that he is okay. We're on the last lap of the race, and Rusty Wallace is in the lead and appears to be headed for his 4th road course win in his career. Rusty Wallace, who started this race from way back in
the 14th position.
14th, right. You can see the yellow flags being displayed by the corner workers in this area of the racetrack where Jeff Bodine crashed.
And there's a white and yellow being given to him at the start-finish line. So they'll race back to the flag.
The race will officially end under yellow as Mark Martin there is in second position following Rusty, and then will come Dale Earnhardt in third position. But here is Rusty Wallace. He finished second at Sears Point on the road course earlier this year. He comes out of corner number 7. He takes the checkered flag, and he wins the Budweiser at the Glen. Rusty Wallace has won. Mark Martin finishes second. Dale Earnhardt is third. And it's a big boost for Rusty Wallace, who came into the race 165 points behind Dale Earnhardt in the Winston Cup points battle. Earnhardt, of course, finishes third, so Rusty isn't going to gain that many points, but every one is very valuable in the battle for the Winston Cup. And the Unical money will move up once again. And here comes Dale Earnhardt alongside Rusty Wallace saying, nice race and way to go. There also is Davey Allison pulling alongside in car number 28.
Who got himself a top 5 finish here today. Started back in 21st position, I think it was, and just ran a good race all day long. Came home.
And there is the ambulance that will take Jeff Bodine to the infield care center to have him checked over after crashing very hard with less than 2 laps to go. Let's go down to Jack Arute, who's with Barry Dodson.
Well, Barry, congratulations. You got one back here at Watkins Glen.
Thank you very much, Jackie. We've been trying awfully hard lately and had a little misfortune at Talladega. It didn't slow us up. We said, well, we're going to do what we did last year. Going to try to win every race, try to win the championship. We've been able to do that by virtue of having Kodiak Mobil 1 AC spark plugs.
How tough is it to keep this crew really geared up with a lot of the stuff that's going on with Raymond and Rusty? Do you guys just put that totally out of your mind?
I do personally. It's not a tough job at all with this crew. Some guys might have a hard time. We don't. We're tough.
They certainly are tough. Look at this. They're going to raise Kane here a little bit before they go to victory lane, Bob Jenkins.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Congratulations to Barry Dodson and all of the Kodiak Pontiac crew for their win with Rusty Wallace. Now, let's take a look once again at the Jeff Bodine crash. It was breathtaking, to say the least. Here is how it happened.
Well, he was running in front of Dale Earnhardt. They were racing for position, and all of a sudden, we're going to see a lot of smoke come out. There it is, the smoke coming out of Bodine's car, and he heads into the turn. You can see some debris there. He gets it down on the inside, and it spins around backwards and then forward, right straight through that guardrail.
Wow. But I was incorrect. He did have brakes because...
And here it is from the in-car camera. Let's listen to the crash. Jeff Bodine climbed out of this car under his own power, is okay. And there is the winner, Rusty Wallace. And we're going to take a commercial break and be right back to talk to the winner of the Budweiser at the Glen.
I'd go to any extreme to prove my point. That's the reason I'm dressed like this, to point out that Xerox antifreeze coolant protects my car's engine in sizzling heat up to 276 degrees. Now, Alan was supposed to prove the other point, that Xerox provides unsurpassed protection in extreme cold, down to 84 below. But obviously, he thinks he's above all this.
Chill out, Rusty.
Xerox antifreeze coolant, because extreme conditions demand extreme protection.
Wallace wins, Mark Martin second, Dale Earnhardt third, Davey Allison fourth, and Bobby Hillen finishes fifth in the Budweiser at the Glen. And let's go down now for our winner's circle interview in just a moment, as we are having some technical difficulties in victory lane that for the moment is preventing us from having our winner's circle interview. But let's, in the meantime, take a look at the replay of the crash involving Jeff Bodine.
Well, Ned Jarrett was exactly right. It was simply a right front tire shredding. The thing just flies apart there. We see the tire below. It comes apart. Now, Jeff Bodine tries his best to get the car as low as he possibly can, but no, we see the tire stop. I thought maybe he lost brakes. No, the tire stopped. So he had brakes. Just in the grass, the car does not slow down. And wow, did he hit that wall so hard.
But Jeff Bodine managed to climb out of the car under his own power and apparently was not injured at all.
One good thing is that the fence gave so much. It didn't just stop him, it gave a great deal, and that saved some of the abuse on Jeff Bodine.
Plus the fact he hit it right straight on, too.
Exactly.
Let's take a look at the point standings now as we head into the race next weekend at Michigan International. Dale Earnhardt has 2,614 points. Second is Mark Martin. Darrell Waltrip is third in points now. Rusty Wallace moves from 5th to 4th, and Bill Elliott falls from 4th to 5th. So we have had some movement there within the top 5. So Earnhardt still will have the lead going to next weekend. Our Winner's Circle interview being brought to you by the Die Hard Battery, now with more power when you need it most. And here's Jerry Punch.
Well, we had a few technical problems, and this guy right here in Victory Lane had technical problems all day long. Rusty, how many times were you out of it today?
Probably about 3 or 4 times. You know, it was a real tough day. I had a flat tire, and then the caution flew. They dropped the caution flag just as soon as me and Ricky went past, and we went tailback. I had to come from the back all the way to the front. I got up to second. Caution flew. Then the tire went flat again. We just kept having problems. But I'll tell you what, you know, I run over a lot of debris today, but boy, I tell you, the Goodyear tires really worked super today. They stuck good, and I just can't say enough about this Kodiak Pontiac Mobile 1 AC car, because man, I'm just thrilled to death. It's, you know, we've been so close so many times this year with knocking 3 of them right off the bat, and then all of a sudden with a dry spell. I think we're back in it right now, and anybody doesn't think we are, and if things falling apart, they got news for them, buddy, because we're back and we're ready.
Indeed they are, and they proved it today, taking the win of the Budweiser at the Glen. Number 1, Rusty Wallace in Victory Lane. He takes the win. Bob?
He'll celebrate his 33rd birthday tomorrow. Up next, from Indianapolis, Indiana, the GTE US Hard Courts Championship with McEnroe against Berger, coming up in just a few moments. Later this afternoon at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, the Grand Prix of Hungary as the Formula One series continues from Budapest, Hungary. And then at 8 o'clock tonight, live here on ESPN, NFL preseason, the Buffalo Bills against the Cincinnati Bengals. My thanks to Benny Parsons, Ned Jarrett, Jack Arute, and Jerry Punch for being with us this afternoon. We'll see you on Speed Week Thursday at 7:34 now. This is Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.